This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Athletics.
Leaping at the wall, it's gone! A towering drive into
This
center
is A's
field
Cast
by
Live,
Rooker.
your comprehensive other MLB clubs.
A judgy at blast. All rise. Here comes the judge.
Swung on, hit high, hit deep to right, away back into the second deck.
Bobby Witt Jr. becomes the first shortstop in Major League history to have two 30-30 seasons.
Shohei Ohtani starts the 50-50 club.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from humidors to walk-off dingers to Hall of Fame talk. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Good morning, everybody, from Dallas, Texas. It's day 3 of the winter meetings, the final day before we get out of here. And I can tell you, it's been a lot of fun this year. This has been by far the best guest list. I mean, the guests we've had have just, I hope you guys have all enjoyed. But being A's employees and being down here and knowing that there's a dramatic change going on and everybody in the industry can feel it in the way they talk to us and the way we've talked about our own franchise, it's been a lot of fun. It has been a lot of fun, and it will continue today. As earlier today, we taped our general manager, David Forst, talking about where this organization is going forward now after Luis Severino. And, you know, there is potential for more signings. They're not trading any of the prominent guys. And you're going to hear from David that when people are calling, I mean, obviously, if I was calling the A's, hey, what's up with Brent Rooker? What's up with J.J. Bleday? What's up? You know, these are the guys you'd be calling on. And, I mean, I'd talk about J.P. Sears. All those guys, no longer do we have those conversations that they are for sale. It's about adding to this group for 2025. So you'll hear that from the general manager, David Forst. Julian McWilliams, our old buddy from the Athletic, now with the Boston Globe, covers the Red Sox. He's going to be joining us soon. What else do we have on the docket today?
We have Jed Lowrie is going to be by it. So we have a time. Are we giving out times here or times in the back in Northern California?
You would give times on the West Coast.
So 8:45, Jed Lowrie will be here. Then at 9, Dan Otero, former A, who's now a senior director of on-field operations for Major League Baseball. Then we'll have David Forst at 11:30. Your good friend, I got him just for you, Brian Kenny, will be here over video. He's not here.
I got beef with BK.
Oh.
I got beef with the fact that BK doesn't show up the year we make a splash.
That's a good point. He wasn't here for the Hall of Fame stuff either.
I mean, what's the deal? Why is he not here?
Because we'll have to find out. BK at 11 or at 9:45.
Well, if you guys actually want to know, I don't know exactly why Brian Kenny is not here, but one thing that we are realizing and what we're very fortunate and happy about is the growth of A's Cast, to where all of our contemporaries, all we're hearing here is about people getting laid off and people downsizing, MLB Network's downsizing, things. We're not hearing great things about Sirius XM and the baseball channel there. So interesting times of how baseball is covered. We know that our own PR staff was at a meeting where baseball teams are like, listen, less and less people are covering our teams, especially locally. What do we do? And what was the example that they brought up to all the 30 teams and their PR groups about what to do?
Build something like A's Cast.
They talked about us. We've told you we're the future of Major League Baseball. We've been telling you that for years. We've been tooting our own horn. And more than ever have we seen that this is the route, this is the model that people need to go. You need to take care of yourselves. I mean, all these years trying to rely on terrestrial radio, relying on newspapers, those days are done. And terrestrial radio is hanging on by a thread, and they're going to do which is smart. I agree with what they're going to do. And I know normally most of you don't care, but they're going to hang on to football. Football is going to be the one thing that's going to keep them afloat. And if I was a program director in modern day radio, sports radio, I would do the exact same. So one thing that I would pound the pavement, but then that opens up the avenues for guys like us. A great Grady Fuson is just walking by. We haven't talked to Grady in a while. Maybe I need to text him. We have any openings today? You haven't even got through everybody. Yeah. So after Brian Kenny
is at 9:45. Then at noon or 10 o'clock here back on the West Coast, we'll have Mike Ferrin of MLB Network Radio, our good friend from Sirius XM. And then we'll have Kiley McDaniel of ESPN over video. It was supposed to be Buster Olney, but Buster wasn't able to do it. I think he might be leaving. I don't know. I'm assuming maybe he's going home, but Buster Olney not in. Kiley McDaniel of ESPN. He'll be great to talk about our farm system, what's going on. We can talk a little Rule 5 draft with them. Look at some of the guys the A's could be targeting. So that'll be our last guest. And then your friend from the Rangers. I forget her name that you met yesterday.
Abby Jones. I met her yesterday. Remember Todd Jones, a reliever?
Yeah.
It's his daughter. She covers everything Dallas here, but especially the Texas Rangers. So we met her yesterday. She is going to join us because wanted to get the Rangers perspective because we're in Dallas. And this is when, one of the times we've had the meetings here is when A-Rod signed that record deal with the Rangers. And literally since we've been here in Dallas, there has been like zero representation. I haven't seen anything Rangers.
I saw Boach walking around yesterday. That's about it. Other than that, you're right. I haven't seen anything Rangers.
Like Nashville obviously was different last year because Nashville, there's not a team there yet. Our friend Dave Stewart stopped by trying to get a team in Nashville. But like when we were in San Diego, at least the San Diego sports radio was there. Tony Gwynn Jr. was doing a show. There was representation of all kinds of Padres stuff because the winter meetings are in your market. You're kind of the host. Have seen absolutely zero from the Texas Rangers. This is a team that just 2 years ago won the World Series. So Abby Jones is going to stop by now with something to talk about because I'm assuming that our man Karate Kid has all the updates on what's been going on, right?
Yeah.
A big deal for the Texas Rangers. David Forst did tell us off the air that years were a problem with Eovaldi, but the A's were talking with Nathan Eovaldi. The years are a problem with Sean Manaea, but the A's were talking to Sean Manaea. And yes, the A's were talking to Walker Buehler. Also, years were a problem. We've addressed this, right? The smart play right now, 2, maybe 3, low risk, give a little extra money, sign a guy up. That's Severino, that's Montas, that's Holmes. Makes sense, right? What Manaea, Eovaldi got 3 years. The A's were looking, sounds like the A's were in on maybe 2 years for Eovaldi, not 3 at his age. Manaea wanted 4, and Walker Buehler wants 4. So if you wanted 4 for the A's, that's not going to happen right now because that's pushing into the first year of Vegas. That's not happening. But obviously, 2 years, the A's are in a lot of organizations. So Eovaldi finally shows up, and he gets signed. Fried signs a huge deal with the New York Yankees.
8 years, $218 million, most ever for a left-handed starting pitcher in baseball history, breaking the record set by David Price, signed by the Boston Red Sox a few years ago. So there's that with Fried. And then the Rangers with Jake Berger, getting him in the trade. And then the Blue Jays and Guardians make the trade for Spencer Horwitz for Andres Jimenez. And then the Guardians flip Horowitz to the Pirates for 3 prospects. So it's been that was a weird trade. In my opinion, it was a weird trade. I don't know what Cleveland's doing. Jimenez is a nice player, but to bigger and better things, we got to talk Red Sox.
You remember this guy? Everybody remember this guy? How are you?
What's up? How you guys doing?
Wonderful. What's up? How's life?
Look, the A's are doing more than the Red Sox.
Now, before we get to that,
life is good.
We were talking about you last night at dinner, and we have one main question for you.
Yeah.
But how is everything, life on the East Coast? How's the family? How are you?
It's good. I got number 2 on the way.
Wow.
Yeah, little boy. So
you're all grown up.
Boy, girl, I'm done.
Yeah, once you get the 2, you don't want to be outnumbered.
No. Right now, so we're still man to man.
Yeah.
Once you go, you got to go zone, and I can't do that.
Once you go 3, as I've seen with my buddies, like once I had twins, so it was a one-shot deal, and I'm like, I'm done. I got 2.
Yeah.
Once you have anybody that I see goes 3 to 4 to 5, it's a whole. You can manage 2.
I know. I can't manage 5. I cannot do 5. Not me. That's too much. I don't know. Can Cody do 5?
No. Cody's shooting for 1, and then we'll go from there. We were talking about you last night at dinner, and we were just kicking it around, knowing you were coming on today. Who are the Boston Red Sox? Do we even know anymore?
They talk more than they do things. I mean, right now, I guess you can just call them. They haven't been true to their word. They've said for the last 3.5 years or 2.5 years, however, that this will be different. This will be different, and it just seems like they keep running out the same people. I don't know why you don't just go out and get Alex Bregman. Who cares about it being a 7th year, or I don't know why you don't go out and sign a Max Fried. Who cares about it being an 8th year? You want to play for right now, right? Like, you got your manager here. You signed for 3 years, 3-year extension. Who cares about the back end of an Alex Bregman deal? You know what the guy brings. You know he's a leader. You know he's a winner. Who cares about Corbin Burns' strikeout rate going down? And they just pick after everything. And I think Andrew Friedman said something to I think Andy McCullough. He said, if you go in trying to win every dollar, to every trade, everything like that, you end up in 3rd place every time. The Red Sox have ended up in 2nd and 3rd place every single time. It's nothing changed.
It sounds like, and it is kind of the modern day nerd baseball, is they find every single way to nitpick. They find some type of number, some type of stat cast, some type of thing that they don't like. They're going into these deals instead of saying, listen, I want to love you, I want to fall in love.
Right.
I'm finding every single reason. Well, sometimes you snore at night.
Right.
Well, you leave your toothbrush out. They're nitpicking every little thing, and you're not going to get deals done that way.
No, and they sit on their hands every offseason, it seems like. And then if you compound that with the fact that they've missed the playoffs for the last 5 years, so clearly something's not working. They think they have this formula of, oh, well, we can turn this guy into a starter, or, well, we can use him in a hybrid role. All that's doing is saying you're going cheap, right? That's just like, oh, that's just gimmicky baseball saying we don't want to pay starters. And, you have Corbin Burns out there. You had Max Fried out there. You needed top tier. You had Blake Snell out there. You needed top of the line pitching. You haven't gotten it yet. So maybe it comes through trade. Maybe they trade Casas for Luis Castillo, but I think the Mariners are going to hold out to the end. What rush do they have to trade him? Right?
They don't.
They have no rush.
Ryan Divish was here yesterday saying they're probably they wait on it because they know he'll be even more valuable at the deadline during 100%. The season if he's throwing well.
100%. So you think the Red Sox can get him at that point after they've, according to Mark Feinstein, that they don't want to pay Burns, but they're going to go after a Nick Pivetta again? Oh, really? We're going to do that again? We've been through this. We've been through this experience for the last 5 years with Nick Pivetta in the rotation. He's a fringe starter with good stuff, right? He has great stuff that's been able to have him survive, and people keep giving him chances and chances and chances. But he's got a 4.3 ERA, 4.5 ERA. He ends up there every year. Well, why can't you just go out and get a starter? Why are you trying to always just develop and do all this? I get development, but you got to win.
Okay. This popped up at dinner last night. Cody has downloaded it. It's kind of funny. Now, remember,
what you think.
The Boston Red Sox were a global power in our game, right? Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah.
We used to talk about the arms race. Yeah. That was New York. Wasn't the Mets. Yeah, it was Yankees. It was Red Sox. Yankees, Red Sox. Put this up.
You can see it right there.
All right.
So clearly you got Dodgers dating at the party, having a good time dancing. Yeah. Mets hooking up at the party, and in the corner waiting is the Boston Red Sox.
That's great. That's great. Hey,
They're interested. It says we're interested.
Oh yeah.
We're interested.
The interest kings or something. I think Shaughnessy calls them something like that. I said even with the Soto deal, like it's like the friend that like you're with your rich friend at the table and you're not going to pay, and you're not going to have to pay, but you still you do this to your pockets.
Yeah. Hey, how much?
How much is it? They weren't going to give Soto that money. I'm sure they probably didn't have that money. They were like, yeah, we're not going to have to pay him. Don't worry. But we're going to make people think that we're interested. And like, that's not even what you really even need. Right. Like, but so that shows me that it's all eyewash too. It's like, yes, Soto's great, but are you going to Rafi Devers? He's a DH. Casas is a DH. Soto's a DH in probably 2 years. So you're going to have 3 DHs who all hit left-handed. You don't need that. Like that's eyewash. I don't know what this team is doing.
Yeah, no one. I don't think really people believe that. Oh, Big Papi's talking to him. I don't think people really believe that he would ever sign.
What 20 years ago he played there and won. Congratulations, Juan Soto's a grown man. I grew up loving Derek Jeter. If you think I had my childhood, I'm good. Who's gonna pay me?
And. It's almost like they were forced to give, like, because the Betts thing was a debacle. They were like forced to give Devers the money.
Totally. He was. I always say he was the last girl at the end of the night in college where you're just like, oh man, I gotta go home with something. I don't know if I can say that.
You just did.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. That's why A's Cast is great. We're streaming.
Yeah.
I've tried to tell people the fact that we're not terrestrial radio. By the way, we are going to be doing some cable television recently. But as of right now, where we're at, we're still good.
All right.
We are still good.
It's a family-friendly show, but it's 8 a.m. on the West Coast.
It is kind of a true analogy, right?
It's
kind of like the last –
miss out on bets.
All right, let me do a different one for you. It's like when it's like December 23rd and you're at the Christmas tree lot and you're like looking around and you're like, what's left?
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot left.
There's not a whole lot left.
Whether it's the club at 1:45 and the lights are going on, or you're at the Christmas tree lot.
Like
this is not good.
That's not the time you want to be trying to close a deal. Is at the last minute.
So
it means like
how do the fans who read you? I mean, it's the Boston Globe. It's a big deal. I
think they still cling on to this like I would just say like ignorant, like not this ignorant, but like this they continue to be hopeful and avid fans that their team will finally do something. Their team says they're going to finally do something, and then they never do. The fans are they just hold on to hope. And I mean, there's still a lot of interest there. It's still the Red Sox, right? And I think that's part of the problem is that ownership, whatever, the organization sees this more like a brand more than anything now. It's like, well, people are going to still come to games. I've never seen more Dodger fans, Houston fans, Oriole fans come into Fenway Park.
Wow.
And make it sound like a split ballpark. Like there have been players. Never. It happened last year. It happened the year before when the Dodgers came. They're like, oh, well, people fly from LA to watch Red Sox games all the time. It's like, yeah, because tickets are available. Like that's why so many Red Sox, like why so many Dodger fans are there is because Red Sox fans aren't buying these tickets like that. They invade the bigger teams invade that area. There have been times I've been watching Yankee games, and I think Cora said it last year. Sometimes it didn't sound like a home crowd. So it's become this brand of, hey, you're in Boston, hey, you're here, let's go visit Fenway Park.
Wow. That is a big change. And I want you to put your New York hat on as you grew up in New York. What is it like? I mean, you can sign Fried, that's great. But what do you think it's like right now in New York where the Mets got over on the Yankees?
I think that's big, right? I think
that's never happened in your lifetime.
It hasn't. But then I also look up Steve Cohen and I'm like, geez, this guy, he wasn't going to lose. Like he buys $100 million pieces of art just for the heck of it. Like, I mean, at a certain point, like you're the Yankees, you're like, all right, like, we don't have like the numbers are getting absurd, and I just think Steve Cohen just would have gone to anything, like just to establish that type of dominance. But look, man, they're gonna have to fill out their team too because their rotation is a question, and obviously you got Soto and Lindor, so it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting when he returns to Yankee Stadium to hear that.
Yes.
It won't be the
bleacher
roll call.
the bleacher creatures. That's going to be a must-watch game.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. But, I mean, the Mets, look, it's good for baseball that this stuff is happening, right? Like, it's good that you see things because it's going to force other teams at some point, you hope, like, okay, we got to get in the mix of this because there's no more gimmicky baseball. Like, those days just need to be over of, like, I get the opener, I get all these different things and having to do it. But you do it out of necessity. Red Sox shouldn't be, platooning players. Oh, lefty comes in the game. All right, second inning. Last year, second inning, Cora's pinch hitting because I want the lefty on lefty matchup. In a game where the Houston Astros threw a lefty opener, and then the secondary guy comes in, and Cora's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to my bench already in the second inning."
All right, and you don't have a deep bench
in the second inning. It's like I call them like the platoon crew. Like everybody platoons, like starters, openers, having Rich Hill come in. It's like
Rich Hill.
And I mean that like with all due respect. But like having him, like, yeah, you sign him, but you sign him as a reliever, and then having a 45-year-old come into a game in the 8th inning against the Mets, it's like, I don't know. I just don't know.
Well, it's Tom Brady and Pedro Martinez they're not walking through that door. It's like Boston's got to figure out. I mean, are you still a global power? Because right now, I mean, you look at the Patriots and you look at the Red Sox, and both are just pathetic.
Bruins fire their coach. What did he get hired like 5 days later? The other guy got hired. Didn't they fire somebody else?
Hockey in that.
Yeah, they fired him, and then he went to. Didn't he go to St. Louis?
Yeah,
like less than a week later. Yeah, less than a week later, he went to St. Louis.
So, I mean, Boston sports are struggling right now. Celtics, that's the only team.
Do you see them doing anything?
They'll do something, but that something might be Nick Pivetta.
So Craig Breslow, obviously we know really well,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, what's he like to be around? I mean, that was the leader of the franchise.
Very stoic, just kind of in his own world. I think with Chaim Bloom was a little bit more, I would say, personable. Craig is sort of, I think he has his plan, has his way of doing things.
He's not going to be a media darling.
No,
he's not Mr. Personality.
No, but I mean,
I interviewed him a lot. He's not that.
He's
not dynamic.
No, and but I think I said last year he uses words like prospect capital, and I'm like, what the heck is prospect capital mean? Like, can't we just say prospects? But no, I mean, look, I haven't gotten that much of a chance to get to know him as much. I want to get to know him a little bit more this year.
Yeah.
But what I can say about what I can say is that their pitching development is real. They did take a step forward with guys like Tanner Houck, who became an all-star. Cutter Crawford, who's made 33, 34 starts. Andrew Bailey's really good at what he does. So like their infrastructure, as he calls it, is real. But at the end of the day, the Red Sox is about acquisitions as well.
Well, it was the fact that they just became we're going to spin it and we're going to spin it and we're going to spin it. We had Andrew Bailey, former A's pitcher and Rookie of the Year and All-Star, former closer, now the pitching coach for the Red Sox. We had him on, and it's like a whole new pitching philosophy, right? You face the Boston Red Sox, you're not going to see a whole lot of fastballs.
You're not. And toward the middle of the season, they had to change up their game plan because they would teams would just started sitting on it. Like in the beginning of the season, they couldn't hit it because it's like, okay, we're going to see a fastball at some point. And then people caught on in the second half of the season. They kept doing it, and they kind of had to start throwing, the fastball a little bit more because, I mean, dude, like I think came out the break, they played the Dodgers, and it was like 7 home runs in a game. And I was like, what the heck is going on? But they were just sitting soft. That's all they had to do was sit soft and hitting out the ballpark. So they switched it up a little bit. But, yeah, they've certainly taken a step forward in that department. I have to give them credit for that.
Do you see the AL East? How do you see it? I mean, obviously Tampa's going to do what Tampa does, but it's a transitional year. They're going to, like us, going to be playing at a AAA. Well, we're at a AAA ballpark. This is a spring training facility that they're going to be playing at. The Yankees, Orioles, we're waiting to see. Are they going to Are they going to strike while the iron's hot with all of this talent? What are the Red Sox? Blue Jays want to give people money. No one wants to take their money. I mean, what is the American League East?
Look, I think it's a division that used to it got to be one of the worst divisions fast in some sense, right? Like you look at last
used to be the best division.
It used to be the best division. Then it's changed rapidly, right? Like the Orioles, for what it's worth, like yes, they've taken a step forward, but they've gotten early exits in the playoffs each year, I think. And then you look at their pitching staff, that needs, that needs work and stuff like that. So I think it's the Yankees. It's the Yankees. It's their division. It's their division. Like I think it's yes, you lose Soto, but you get Fried. You got Rondon. You got Garrett Cole. Obviously, Judge is going to do what he does in the regular season. And they seem hungry to go out there and get more. And I think on MLB Network, they asked Brian Cashman, they said, what was the thoughts after losing out on Soto? And he said, never stop, never surrender. We're trying to get back to a World Series.
Yeah.
Difference is the Red Sox are saying the same thing, but the Yankees are actually doing it.
To me, I thought the Toronto Blue Jays would punt and start trading guys last year before the deadline.
I think they should.
They didn't. And now look where they are.
Yeah, and Vladdy's probably going to leave.
Yeah, what do you think happens with Toronto?
I think you got. I think you should have traded some of those guys. Bichette is coming up on his deal. Look, they have a lot. Their prospect, their farm system is sort of depleted. They have a lot of old contracts. They have the Springer contract. He's 35 years old, playing on turf. I think it's just a mess, from what I've heard, it's a culture issue there, right? I think those players should be a lot better. That team should be a lot better than what they are, and that just tells me there's no direction within the organization. And it's kind of been like that for the last, even under Charlie, Montoyo. I think it was even worse. So they got to figure it out. That team is. I look at that roster and that team every year, and I'm like, how aren't they winning this like every single year? They got good players. They're good, like Bassett with A's. Obviously, he's a good starter. Barrios. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Barrios, yeah.
Barrios, like he's really good. You had Kikuchi, who all of a sudden went to the Astros and started throwing the ball well, but he wasn't throwing the ball well for you guys. What are you doing over there that you can't rack up wins and have success with your players? I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting when you mention culture, and it takes you back to this Juan Soto deal. If you're going to ink up a guy for 15 and for almost $800 million, he's going to be the guy that sets the culture. Because I go back to Miguel Cabrera towards the end, and it's very similar because a lot of people have tried to say, well, hey, Juan Soto's in his prime. Well, Miguel Cabrera, when he signed that extension with Detroit, was like 27 years old. That deal got real bad, and it got real bad real fast. And I remember being in Detroit, how bad it was, because he was the guy that set the tone. And now that Verlander was gone and Detroit was starting to guffaw, with him still being the guy who was this anchor weight, it was miserable there. So it's like, it may be good early with Soto, but it'll also depend how Soto sets the tone inside that clubhouse and in that organization, because clearly with the reports of they threw his chef and his dad out and they didn't want to give him a suite. I respect that the Yankees say, this is how we do business.
Enough is enough.
There's some structure.
Here's $770 million to play in New York City for the Yankees. Like, okay, go to the Mets. That's fine. And like you say, like, and there been stuff about how he doesn't, give it all he has all the time. He kind of just, goes with the flow and doesn't necessarily hustle all the time. He's not that good of an outfielder. Again, what are you paying for? You're probably paying for a DH. And I get why the market was like that, but at some point it's like, I think I asked somebody from the Red Sox, I was like, what would Mookie get in this market? He's like, oh, dude, like 800, like it would have to be like 800 million. This guy he's not Mookie Betts, like all around total package. Mookie Betts is a far better player if we're talking about the complete package.
Have we oversold him as a player? Because we put the Baseball Reference, you can put players up against each other. We did Trout's first 7 years versus Soto's first 7 years. Soto's not even close to what Trout was in the first 7 years.
He's not. He hasn't won an MVP yet. Like, I mean, they say he's the best hitter since Ted Williams. I mean, I don't know where they get that from.
Yeah, we did the side-by-side first 7 years, and that's counting 3 years, had to take 3 years of Ted Williams being out because of military service.
Yeah.
You take Ted Williams' first 7 years, he crushes Soto in
him.
everything.
Crushes him.
You want home runs, you want on base, you want slug. I mean, he killed him in triples, let alone doubles.
It was like 53 to 15.
In 7 years, like Ted Williams had like 50-something triples.
What
there wasn't any statistics Soto had over Ted Williams.
He controls the strike zone. Like, he's a great hitter. Great hitter. But like everything else is just Hall of Famer. He's gonna go. He's moonwalking to the Hall of Fame. Don't get me wrong on that. But $770 million. Like, if the Yankees go out there and say they get freed, they somehow figure out a way to trade for Kyle Tucker, which they want to do. That's a pretty good roster. I mean, if I'm looking at it, right? Like, I think it's a better roster defensively because offense wasn't necessarily their problem. It was defense. Their defense was atrocious in the World Series. Atrocious.
Exposed.
And that's what came out within the Dodgers. Like, look, this team is going to figure out a way to like kick the ball around. So let's just stay with it.
All right, let's end on this. What Christmas, maybe New Year's, what has to happen to make Red Sox fans feel better about themselves? What would you like to see happen?
They got to go out and get what they say they're going to get. So if they're going to say they need a top of the line starter, they need to get a top of the line starter. They need a right-handed bat. They need to get a right-handed bat. You say you wanted Alex Bregman, or people within the organization said they wanted Alex Bregman. They haven't gotten Alex Bregman because reportedly, according to Sean McAdam, there's a divide within that group, which includes Craig Breslow, who's on the other side saying, I don't think he's necessarily what, people, hype him up to be. And whereas, Alex Cora's on the other side saying like, no, I like this guy. I want this guy. Like, we have to go after this guy. Cora's been on the record. He talked for days on Bregman just earlier. It was like his own pitch to the team to say, please take this guy. Like, please, can we just get him? Just can we get somebody to set the tone, set the culture in the clubhouse? And they don't have that. They have no leader. It's no culture there.
It's fascinating, especially when you consider a team won the 3 World Series, how big Boston sports was.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was winning championships, a complete difference. Hey, have a great Christmas.
Likewise.
Happy holidays with number 2 coming. It's awesome. Congratulations. Yeah. And then next time we talk to you, we're going to be getting after it, the 2025 season.
Yes. And I think it's going to be an interesting A's season too. I really do believe that they're going to.
How do you feel about that? The Luis Severino, or
I like him.
It's a culture change, right? Yeah. You covered this team when you knew it was always like, well, we don't know the future. I mean, when you talk about a symbol, culture change, you got that with the
100%. 100%.
Be well, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Cody, what do we got next?
I'm trying to get Jed to come over now.
Okay, the great Jed Lowrie going to show up here. We're still in Dallas, day 3. We got a couple more hours left from Dallas, Texas. It's the winter meetings right here on A's Cast Live.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is the #1 brand of online mattresses and the Bay Area's favorite mattress store. Take home the Easy Breather pillow. The New York Times calls it their #1 pick. You can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
A's general manager David Forst joined Towny on A's Cast Live and explained what positions he is looking to upgrade this offseason.
Third base is always the spot that jumps out at us as sort of the most unsettled spot on the diamond from this past season, and that's not to knock any of the guys who got reps and ABs over there, but it's just a fact. It was the one place on the diamond where we shuffled a lot of guys through and aren't quite sure what the answer is going forward. So you've got Schumann and Hernandez and Harris as possibilities there. You potentially have Max Muncy as an option there if Jacob's going to play shortstop. But the reality is we need to figure it out. So as we look out there, what's available, that's a spot we're keeping in mind. Not unlike every other offseason, pitching is at the top of our mind. And we did such a good job putting the rotation together this year. And JP continues to be the constant at the top of our rotation and the guy you can count on. And Beto and Spence and JT and Estes, all these guys did such a good job stepping up, essentially doing more on the major league stage than they'd ever been asked of before. So starting pitching, continuing to augment the bullpen is always going to be, a priority for us. But it is nice to sort of feel like the spots that I haven't mentioned, maybe there's an answer there that's going to be there for a while.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
With more sunshine returning, it's time to get outside and make the most of what Cinnabar Hills Golf Club has to offer. Like 27 championship caliber holes tucked in the beautiful hills of San Jose. And take advantage of their amazing Bay Area views for your next special event. It's all for you at Cinnabar Hills Golf Club, an award-winning venue designed to peacefully take you away from the bustle of Silicon Valley. Go to cinnabarhills.com. That's cinnabarhills.com.
Brent Rooker, fresh off winning the 2024 Silver Slugger, spoke with Towny on A's Cast Live about the moment he realized his 2024 season was taking off.
It's mid to late June, I think, is kind of when I kind of made the switch from who I was in 23 to who I was for the rest of the year. I think up until I think it was a series in Anaheim towards the back half of June. That up until that point, I had kind of been who I was in 23 still. The strikeouts were high. The average was kind of right where it had been the previous year. I had the power spurts, which is what were kind of keeping me productive. And then I made a few adjustments with swing-wise and preparation-wise and to my approach that series in Anaheim for the rest of the year. I was able to remain much more consistent in the fact that, I've always been very streaky power-wise, which is how a lot of guys work in the big leagues, right? The slugging kind of comes in bunches. You hit one homer, you tend to hit four. It's kind of that thing. So the difference between this year and last year was during those between those streaks of power, between those, little home run bursts, I was able to maintain. I was able to take my singles. I was able to take my walks. I was able to continue to get on base and remain productive in other ways to where I wasn't just solely relying on, hitting homers to produce runs.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
Streaming from the winter meetings, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
Bob Nightingale from the USA Today 24 minutes ago put on X, believe it or not, one of the most aggressive teams in the Max Fried sweepstakes were the Athletics before he signed an 8-year, $218 million deal. Now, I would ask David Forst about that, but we had him earlier this morning, so I can't ask him. But Jed Lowrie, who, as we all know, a terrific and you think about his time with the A's, unbelievable. The doubles machine, I'm looking at the money being thrown around. Can you hit doubles still?
Yeah, I guess considering, like you said, how much money is being spent right now, I might have to go dust the cleats off.
Can you put out 45 doubles again? Can you imagine?
I went to the All MLB awards in Vegas a couple weeks ago,
yeah.
and the question was, how many homers could you hit right now? And I said, if I could put one over the fence right now, I know how hard it is to go out there and, how much time and effort it takes and how athletic and strong these guys are now. As a 40-year-old man, I watched Justin Turner doing what he's doing still. I'm pretty impressed by that. So
yeah, you're now about becoming a scratch golfer. Life has changed.
Exactly.
But the good thing is, and what we have always talked about is your perspective, how you understand the game, the business of the game, the on the field. How do we keep you in the game?
Mm-hmm.
Talk about your new role, why you're here at the winter meetings.
Yeah. So I'm doing the Commissioner's Ambassador Program, CAP as we call it, and it's a great opportunity to stay involved in the game and get exposure to things that I wasn't exposed to while I was a player, and just maintain contact with the game. So it's been an awesome experience. I've been to a couple World Series now, All-Star games. I got to go to the London Series, the Mexico City Series, the Little League Classic. So just kind of seeing all these like jewel events that Major League Baseball puts on and help promote and grow the game.
We have a lot of former A's doing this, right? Dan Otero works for the league, Rajay Davis. And I think, it goes to show the good people that we have in our organization. But it also, for baseball, it is really smart to take, who are the cerebral players and guys that we can help? Because there's got to be the in between the players and the owners and the commissioner's office. I think you guys really can do a good job of relaying, because a lot of the players, like when you're playing, maybe you didn't know how the commissioner's office worked. You didn't know how the owners were thinking. Now you can get a better insight.
Yeah. No, I think that's exactly the point, and just provide a player perspective within the commissioner's office that is probably, I wouldn't say it was lost, but it was probably wasn't as vocal over the last few years, and so I think we're able to provide a perspective that's needed.
Well, and then I think for someone like yourself, you got kids. You want to be around the kids. You want to be around the family. You want to watch them grow. And for years, ex-players, the only thing that they could do was coach. What means you had to get back into uniform. You had to get back into the grind. You don't want to be in that grind, but you still want to be around the game.
No, of course. I mean, this game has meant everything to me, and I love everything about it, and I'm really interested in doing what I can to help grow it, particularly from the grassroots level. Like just get as many kids, in the U.S. and around the world playing it, because we want to obviously see the talent pool continue to grow, but we also want to just bring more fans into the game.
If you look at a big picture of since you've taken this job, what have you learned the most that you didn't know about the game as a player?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a very concerted effort by Major League Baseball to try to get more player input and to grow the game and to figure out what's the best structure moving forward, and how to, I think, probably mend some fences too with players. And so I think that we've just been doing that and communicating with players and just trying to elevate the game, trying to grow the game.
It's interesting when we talk about the players, because every generation's different, right? The players were different when you were coming in. Players are different now when you were about to leave, and now they're different again now that you're out and you're talking to these young guys. It's interesting how the league has to, as you said, mend fences, build a better relationship, but the players and the guys are always evolving and changing.
Yeah. No, for sure. That's just kind of the evolution of society, right? And so you're kind of keeping up with the way that guys have been developed, in amateur baseball, and how they're going to come in, like what mentalities they have, and how they view the game, and trying to make it, trying to remember and recognize that this is an entertainment product. So we want to elevate players. We want to make sure that we're showcasing the stars of the game, and making them a big part of what this game is all about. And like I said, make it this entertainment product that people are really trying. They want to get back and watch and see some of these exciting young players, because they are very dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, if we go way back to our old days, like when I was playing at San Jose State, you were at Stanford. We didn't have social media. We didn't have platforms.
Sure.
Now these college kids, if you're a big-time college kid, you're getting paid.
Yeah. Yeah. NIL, I mean, it's big business too, right?
Yeah.
And so, whether you go on and play pro or not, you have an opportunity to monetize your career at a younger age. There's plenty of opportunities for kids out there. And like I said, I think the more kids we can get playing, right, from diverse backgrounds and from across the world, the better the game is going to be.
every single night, when I do my sports, when I do my scorecard,
Yeah.
and I put the guys on the bench and you put them into left, right. It's like the days of the switch hitter are gone. I mean,
Yeah.
is that just something you think is just because of the platooning and everything? It's going away. I know how hard it is. We talked about maintaining 2 swings, but do you think the art of it is where it's going to be lost?
I mean, I hope not. I think, there seems to be ebbs and flows and stuff like that. And I think that, with the new rules and limiting shifting, I think that the competitive advantage of being a switch hitter is going to come back. I think that competitive advantage was lost when shifting became more prevalent, because you could basically take away any of the misses on the ground to the pull side, right? No matter where you were, and that's that as a hitter, it changes your mentality and it changes the way you approach an at bat. And I think that's where, particularly from a lefty's perspective, if I don't get it, because you're not going to get every one of them just right, like you're going to get some lucky hits, or you're going to get some balls that you didn't hit as good that are supposed to find holes, right? Like especially with runner on first baseman holding. But if there's still 3 guys on the right side of the infield, there's just no hits in the world of the shift.
Did you find one side or the other was harder to maintain?
Yeah, right-handed was natural for me, so I didn't require as much maintenance on the right-handed swing. Left-handed was a more of a conscious effort.
That's crazy, because left was where you made your money.
Yeah, I mean, that's like I said, as a natural righty, I didn't even start switch hitting until freshman year of high school, and so like I said, I had to spend a lot more of my time and conscious effort on my left-handed swing to make sure everything was working.
And there is something about the art of getting extra base hits and watching you. And I saw it again. JJ Bleday, I don't know how much A's games you watch.
Yeah.
JJ Bleday reminded me a lot of you.
Yeah.
To where there is something about a guy that when you hit it, you're hunting double right out of the box. I mean, you have the most doubles in a single season in A's history.
Yeah.
When you go down the record books of doubles in a season, you're the top, but you're up there. It's Reggie Jackson, it's Jason Jensen. You're up there a bunch. I mean, you put up some 40 plus. What is it about? Is that just something that you just take on in your? I know you've joked around saying because you knew the ball wasn't going out of the ballpark, but there's something about hunting doubles.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've always been that gap-to-gap hitter, right? Or I always was a gap-to-gap hitter. And so, I think for me, it was just it was trying to hit the ball hard on a line, right? Picking out a good pitch to hit and catching it at the right point, right? The right contact point. So you could get the ball in the air and put it in the gap and then, see what happens from there. And I didn't I knew that was part of my game, but I wasn't going up there trying to hit a double. I was looking for a good pitch to hit. Yeah. And if I caught it at the right contact point, it was going to, it produced a lot of doubles. Let's just put it that way.
As a world traveler, do you have any big plans with it? Kids are getting older now. Any big plans?
We've talked about a lot. We've talked about, doing maybe Italy this summer. I'm working. I've worked with a couple of groups on the baseball development side, which we talked about earlier. A group out of Egypt called Because Baseball. So they do an event in the summer around the play ball weekend. There's a group that I've been supporting even longer called Project Baseball that does a lot of work in Colombia and Brazil. So it's always fun to go support them and the camps and that they do. So I think if we can tie some of our travels in with doing some camps and some baseball development work, that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we've actually talked to Kemp about us going over to Egypt.
Yeah,
because we started this thing talking about baseball in Egypt with him. I want to say, was it 2019?
Yeah,
and we've talked about going over to see the Egyptian baseball because Bobby Evans with the Giants was a part of it, where we would go and then come to the winter meeting. So we've talked about it's fascinating how much our game's growing. Well, the number one thing was we got to keep smart players in the game. And I'm so happy that you're staying in the game because obviously what you bring knowledge-wise, what you did as a player, can only benefit the game of baseball. I'm glad you're staying in because there's a lot of ways you could go. I'm glad you're staying in our game.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And then, like I said, baseball means a lot to me, and I want to put a lot of my time and efforts into growing the game. And we'll see where that leads. Down the road with any opportunities, but like I said, for the time being, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing.
Not coaching though.
No, I mean, you never say never, right?
Yeah.
But I think in the immediate term, it's just, we talked about the lifestyle of that, right?
Yeah.
And getting back into the grind of that would be particularly challenging. I missed a lot. My kids are my daughter's almost 11, my son is 8.
Yeah.
Missed a lot of time, and I'm not going to get these years back. And so I want to be a part of their upbringing, and I get an opportunity to coach them in softball and basketball and baseball, and so I'm really enjoying that part of life right now.
I could see like A's great comes back for spring training for a little bit.
Yeah, like I said, I'm very flexible, right? I'm very flexible. I'd like to, for the time being, I'd like to find something that's the right fit. Continue to grow my experiences, and be exposed to things that I haven't had the opportunity to be exposed to. So, I'm open to a lot right now.
Well, I do mean it when I say A's great. I mean your career with the A's. Yeah. Some big years and playoff runs and some super excitement. That's why it's always important that we bring you back, because no matter where this franchise goes, you're a part of that fabric. You're in the record books. It is what it is. And I know how much this franchise means to you.
It means a lot to me. And I was very, very honored and very proud to put on the A's uniform, and always be an A, always root for the franchise.
And the Bay Area, my God, Stanford, met your wife there. Bay Area is a big place for you.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
All righty. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Right. And we will see you in the new year. And let's do this again and see how your baseball post-career continues to evolve.
Thank you, Towny.
All right, we got more coming up next from the winter meetings right here on A's Cast Live.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is the #1 brand of online mattresses and the Bay Area's favorite mattress store. Take home the Easy Breather pillow. The New York Times calls it their #1 pick. You can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
This is Commander Cody, and fall is upon us, and Linksole has dropped their new fall line. New pants fit for a more custom experience with elevated layers and performance polos to help transition from season to season, no matter if you're wearing them out on the golf course, out to dinner, or just hanging out with friends. Some effortless looks to help you find the right look and feel for any occasion. Go to their website, linksole.com. That's linksole.com, and find out how you can unlock 20% off your next order. Remember, in the big leagues, to play good, you got to look good.
With more sunshine returning, it's time to get outside and make the most of what Cinnabar Hills Golf Club has to offer. Like 27 championship caliber holes tucked in the beautiful hills of San Jose. And take advantage of their amazing Bay Area views for your next special event. It's all for you at Cinnabar Hills Golf Club, an award-winning venue designed to peacefully take you away from the bustle of Silicon Valley. Go to cinnabarhills.com. That's cinnabarhills.com.
A's DH Brent Rooker sat down at Towny on A's Cast Live to discuss the positive vibe in the clubhouse during the second half of 2024.
Yeah, it's special. I think, even after that last game in Seattle, guys are already kind of itching to get to spring training and get back with this group that we have and continue the momentum that we built the last three or so months of the year. I think we've got a bunch of guys who are bought into what we're doing, a bunch of guys who are bought into each other, bought into themselves as individually as players. There's a lot of confidence both in one another as teammates and then in ourselves as well as individual players. So I think we all like what we have going. We could all kind of sense the things starting to change and starting to turn towards the end of the year and even kind of starting midway through the year. And we're just looking forward to getting back at it and keeping that momentum going.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
If you haven't been to the Chicken Pie Shop in Walnut Creek, what are you waiting for? You're going to love the new menu, and it's a great place to watch all the pennant race action and the upcoming NFL and college football seasons. Come taste their world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 86 years. Spacious indoor and outdoor dining, perfect for your next corporate party or birthday celebration. Don't forget free parking. For more information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
A's general manager David Forst was on A's Cast Live and discussed building the A's roster heading into a new ballpark in West Sacramento.
What we do know about Sutter Health is that as it relates to the PCL, it's a pretty average ballpark. I mean, it's not Albuquerque, it's not Las Vegas. Colorado Springs isn't in the PCL anymore, but it's not Colorado Springs. So it has always played as a slight hitter's ballpark, but nothing compared to the rest of the PCL. Now, once we put Major League players in there and a Major League environment, we'll see. Right now, we're going to build a team that we think is the best in any environment. We knew the Coliseum well. We knew the kind of things that played here. It'll take us a little while at Sutter Health, but I think we should expect it to be pretty neutral until it proves otherwise.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
For 175 years, Comerica has thrived through every rise and fall. We've lived through triumphs and turmoil, witnessed every advance, and survived every setback. Through surety and uncertainty, we've stood the test of time by standing by our beliefs, our values, and our customers. Comerica Bank, 175 years strong. Member FDIC, Equal Opportunity Lender.
JJ Bleday joined Towny on A's Cast Live and discussed how Brent Rooker has become a leader for the club.
Rook's a good leader. Like you said, he's been through the ups and downs. He's experienced a lot of different organizations and different teams, but yet he's excelled the last 2 years with the Oakland A's. So he's had tremendous success, and he's found out who he is, I think, in the big leagues. And it's been fun to lean on him and ask him questions about, body, diet, approach at the plate. What are you thinking mechanically, and all these things. And he's obviously got the body, the strength, and the bat speed and the approach. And it's just cool to see him develop even more this year. I mean, he just again, he went on that tear, and he's just a big believer in trusting his process and trusting himself, and he works his tail off. And that's the type of guy we want. He was definitely a little bit more vocal this year because he could feel that veteran presence and feel that he was a vet. So he took it to heart, and he went with it, and he was just a good role model for us to kind of mimic our games after.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast. Brent Rooker, fresh off winning the 2024 Silver Slugger, spoke with Towny on A's Cast Live about the moment he realized his 2024 season was taking off.
Mid to late June, I think, is kind of when I kind of made the switch from who I was in 23 to who I was for the rest of the year. I think up until it was a series in Anaheim towards the back half of June. That up until that point, I had kind of been who I was in 23 still. The strikeouts were high. The average was kind of right where it had been the previous year. I had the power spurts, which is what were kind of keeping me productive. And then I made a few adjustments with swing-wise and preparation-wise and to my approach that series in Anaheim. And for the rest of the year, I was able to remain much more consistent in the fact that, I've always been very streaky power-wise, which is how a lot of guys work in the big leagues, right? The slugging kind of comes in bunches. You hit one homer, you tend to hit four. It's kind of that thing. So the difference between this year and last year was during those between those streaks of power, between those, little home run bursts, I was able to maintain. I was able to take my singles. I was able to take my walks. I was able to continue to get on base and remain productive in other ways to where I wasn't just solely relying on, hitting homers to produce runs.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is the #1 brand of online mattresses and the Bay Area's favorite mattress store. Take home the Easy Breather pillow. The New York Times calls it their #1 pick. You can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Green and gold fans, use the coupon code Oakland, and you'll get 10% off your entire order. Nest Bedding. Love where you sleep.
Streaming from the winter meetings, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
Always great to have Jed on. And yeah, it's interesting how you have all of these ex-A's. And we've seen Dan Otero here. We've seen Rajay Davis, now Jed Lowrie, guys that played for the A's who are now working for the commissioner's office and trying to make the game better and help the players and the owners have a better relationship. God, we spent a lot of time trying to make players happy who are already making millions of dollars. Isn't that amazing? Mark Kotze is still here. Kotze is still here.
Well, Wash just came. They must have their team picture or something because Wash walked out. I saw Brandon Hyde.
All right. Yeah, all the Americans. So what they do here is they'll have all the American League managers take a picture. All the National League managers take a picture. Where were we where everybody was really upset with
San Diego?
Was it San Diego? Everybody was. So Melvin was at the time the manager of the Padres, and Bob Melvin tipped us off. Everybody was livid at Gabe Kapler for being extremely late, to where all the National League managers were saying, "Screw him, just take the picture."
Well, if he would have
leave him out,
if he would have walked faster, he could have gotten there. That's a play on his TikTok video. He said, "You don't need to Uber anywhere. You can just walk if you walk faster." Thanks, Gabe.
Gabe Kapler is somebody that's just
interesting.
I'm going to go with something different, because when we had him on, he's charming. You can see how Gabe Kapler is somebody you bring in. There's certain people in life that are great interviewers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you bring them in, and there's other people who are really good at their jobs, but they're awful at interviewing. They're awful at selling themselves, even though they're very good at their jobs. And then there's some people that are extremely good at selling themselves, and then once they get in, they're horrible to deal with. That's Gabe Kapler.
See, there's Wash again.
That's Gabe Kapler right there in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ron Washington walking by. Great Ron Washington. Man, I don't think it's going to end well for him in Anaheim.
What do you mean? They're one of the 6 teams that Arenado's going to move his no trade clause for.
I just don't think it's going to end well for him.
It's not looking. Oh, Boch is over there.
It's a really, really, really tough situation in Anaheim. Yeah, Bruce Bochy, is this the final hurrah of his career? We'll ask Abby Jones coming up here in a little bit, who covers the Rangers. Can't imagine there's that much left with Bruce Bochy in his career. He got the 4th World Series. He moves a lot better than he used to. Well, I'm watching him walk right now down the hotel pathway here. But a lot of questions. But we have some older managers. As we kind of got back into the older manager, is this it for Bruce Bochy? What is it going to mean for Ron Washington? Breaking news.
I'll handle this one, Ray.
Go for it.
Anthony Castrovent's up front from MLB.com just tweeted this out. The Ford C. Frick Award winner has been announced. Our good friend, Tom Hamilton, is finally going into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
We told him he would, and he didn't want to believe us. Remember that? We said, you're going to get in. Come on.
I mean, Tom Hamilton is incredible. I mean, he's in our Open. He's been in our Open the last few years.
Swung on and belted.
Hosey.
He has down goes
Anderson.
Down goes Anderson. One of the great. He is a jewel. You talk about one of the great voices in our game. All the years, he was one of the first voices of the Big Ten Network when it launched. All the years with the Indians and the Guardians, he has been a staple in Cleveland. if you, all the years, whether they played his calls on Sports Center, now Quick Pitch on MLB Network, and he's been so good to us with A's Cast. Tom Hamilton, Ford C. Frick Award winner, now Hall of Famer, well-deserved, one of the best voices our game has ever had.
And if I end up going to the Hall of Fame weekend for Ichiro, if he gets in, and the other players going, and along with the Cobra Dave Parker.
Are you worried Ichiro might not get in?
He might not be unanimous, and I wanted what coward won't vote for him. Well, they won't make it public because, writers don't want it. They want anonymity. So, but yeah, Ichiro's going to go in with Dave Parker and Dick Allen, and now Tom Hamilton.
There's Dave Roberts, our buddy Dave Roberts.
They must be doing the NL picture soon, hopefully. So there's the update there. And then now we got some Ray Jensen.
He was looking over here. We should have waved him like, come on.
I haven't heard. Let's see. Nope, nothing from Juan just yet. But Ray Jensen's here. He has some updates from the winter meetings.
All right, what do we got, Ray? Update us on what's happening here in Dallas.
All right, well, I'll start with what Cody teased about Nolan Arenado. There are 6 teams that Nolan Arenado has been on record of his agent that he'll be willing to waive his no-trade clause for. Those teams are the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Los Angeles Angels, the San Diego Padres, the New York Mets, the Boston Red Sox, and the Philadelphia Phillies. Those are the preferred destinations for one Nolan Arenado.
Not the Yankees?
No. Very surprised about that.
He has a no-trade clause. Why would he not have the Yankees on there? Do we not forget they were just in the World Series?
Yeah. And I know they have Jazz Chisholm who can play there, but Aaron, how would you say no to Nolan Arenado if he's interested?
Why would you say yes to the Mets and then no to the Yankees? And yes, I mean, obviously he's from Southern California, so I get the yes to the Dodgers. Why would you say yes to the Angels?
Well, he'd play more than Anthony Rendon. I think we could all agree on that.
Well, there you go. I mean, you have Anthony Rendon in that contract. Anthony Rendon is going to play. I put it this way. I'm Nolan Arenado. I'm going to be a baseball Hall of Famer. I have a lot left in my career. I am not, if this is me, I am not like all of a sudden saying, oh, I'll play first base. No, I'm playing third base. And I've heard floated around here at the meetings where people have talked about how he's willing to go just to get out. He's willing to play first base. That's not how I would do it. That to me would be a last ditch option. I would not put that on the table. If I was selling myself, I am one of the greatest defensive third basemen of all time. I'm playing third. Who wants me? Because whether you got a no trade or not, people are discussing here at these meetings. You've got his agency, you got teams calling him saying, hey, listen, we're willing to do X, Y, and Z. I am not selling I'm going to move over to first base yet. I'm saying I'm one of the best defensive third basemen. I'm going to the Hall of Fame. I still can swing it. Who wants me? That's how I would go about it. Have some pride, man. I can't believe he's like, I'll play first base.
Well,
what?
I'm curious because what do you do with
33rd baseman in the league right now. How many teams have a better third baseman than Nolan Arenado? I'll wait for it. And he's not that expensive, especially if you might be able to get St. Louis to pick up part of the contract.
Are we looking overall or just defensively?
Overall.
Yeah, he's up there still. I mean, Devers is pretty good. But yeah, I don't know.
Who's way more expensive.
Yeah. Plus the idea of him going there. So what are you gonna do with Devers? Are you gonna put Arenado at first if you go to Boston?
Okay, I said give me guys. Do you want him or Matt Chapman?
Rendon probably.
Okay.
Or not Rendon, Arenado. You guys got me off with the whole Rendon and Angels. Yeah.
You want Rendon or Arenado?
Arenado.
Okay, keep going. Name me. You want Bregman or you want Arenado?
Bregman had it down. I'd probably still go Arenado.
So that's what I'm getting at. If I'm his agency and I'm him, you've named me one guy you'd rather have.
Hosey. Probably take Hosey over him.
Okay, 2. There's 30 teams. You've named me 2.
Well, I'm not taking Jazz Chisholm.
Toronto's looking for a big name.
Yeah, who's the Orioles third baseman? Oh, was it not the kid who got hurt last year?
Westberg.
You taking him over Arenado? No. That's my whole point. Why would you sell yourself short if you're Nolan Arenado?
Can't say our third baseman because we don't know who it is.
How old is he? He's just early 30s,
33,
right?
34, I believe. Arenado is 33 years old. He'll be 34. He'll turn 34 in April. So you'll get him for essentially his age 34 season plus. And he's still, last year he was still he hit 272 last year. The home runs were down. Still drove in 70 and had a 101 OPS plus. The league average is 100. So he's still above the league average player.
You look at the fact that he hasn't won a Gold Glove in the past couple of seasons.
Why can't we reach out and give him some love? Just to dude, you got how many years does he have left? 3, I think.
He's a free agent after the 28th season.
Oh, after the 28th season.
Yeah.
So he's got 4 years left.
Yeah, 25, 26, 27, yeah.
Hey, that last year of your contract, you're going to be in Vegas, my friend. Why don't we reach out? We'll put our arms around you. We'll love you. Swallow your pride about the AAA stadium. We'll pay you, and we'll love you. And you're going to be on a team that you're on an up. It is very clear, all right? If you're watching this right now, this is not a homer take. And by the way, we're not homers because you know what? Last 2 years we've stunk, and we told you we stunk. And whenever we've been terrible, we've told you we're terrible, right?
Yeah.
Everybody here has acknowledged that this team's getting better and that this team is on the rise. And David is selling, as David Forst told you right here, he's selling the team. He's selling, look who we got, right? If you put your arms around Arenado and bring him to SAC.
Absolutely.
We'll love you. We will love you, and you're going to be on a team that's on the rise. You're back on the West Coast.
I think it's a great fit.
It's a total fit. If we're out there, if the A's are out there and they're, according to Bob Nightingale, hot and heavy in Max Fried in that world, forget Severino. That is the top of the food chain. I mean, he's going to be the biggest pitching free agent of the winter.
By far.
Anybody going to debate that?
No.
He's going to get the biggest money. He got the biggest contract. Max Fried just got the biggest contract of any left-handed pitcher in Major League Baseball history, and we were in on that. Arenado, this is what we're trying to do.
Yeah. But you're big on these big deals. Remember 2 years ago, why not Juan Soto? Bring him on in. Sell him.
Remember when Hembo said we should have traded for Mookie Betts?
It's Aaron Boone.
How come there's not? Where's all the New York media following him?
Wow, he must feel. Oh my!
The pressure's off here.
He can't go anywhere. It's miserable to be Aaron Boone. Like he literally can't go anywhere. I mean, it's one thing to be constantly recognized, but Aaron Boone is like right now. This is Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone has a hoodie on with a jacket and a backpack. Aaron Boone is a regular dude. Grew up in Southern California from the historic Boone family. His father, Bob, went to the same high school as I did. I chased all of Bob Boone's records in football and baseball. And, yes, came up short. But Aaron Boone is a super cool guy. It's amazing. He's a super cool Southern California type guy dealing with all of the pressures of New York. And that's when people say you got to get rid of him. Be careful what you wish for, because Boone handles that extremely well. He does an unbelievable job handling the rigors of being the manager of the Yankees. All right, what else you got?
All right, so let's focus on the team.
Did I say Juan Soto us, by the way, back in the day?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Why not us?
Why not us?
That was a great hashtag for a little bit when we started, 10-9 and after the start of the 2020. Well, we know how that season turned out, but
yeah,
the Why Not Us movement.
I mean, if there was ever an organization that liked walks, we loved walks.
What do you mean? What do you mean loved?
I
obsessed.
I want to say there was a time in our organization we didn't want guys to swing the bat.
That's why I'm surprised we didn't throw money at Soto now.
Like, you got in trouble. Can you imagine this? You're a professional athlete, and you got in trouble if you would swing it in the A's minor league system, allegedly, swing it at a 3-1 count. You would get scolded.
Would you rather hit a home run or get on base with a walk?
Do not swing 3-1. I would have been like, to hell with you. Trade me. All right, what else you got?
So let's talk about the Texas Rangers. We talked a little bit. Jake Berger coming over from Miami in a trade. They gave up 3 prospects for him: Max Acosta, Echeverry Vargas, and Brian Mendoza. They're over to Miami now. Movement that just got a little bit of steam. We talked about this pitcher, but he kind of got overshadowed by Max Fried. Nathan Eovaldi, he's back with the Rangers in a 3-year, $75 million deal. The World Series hero is back with the Rangers.
Abby Jones, who covers the team, was here yesterday, and we're going to have her on today. And from her knowledge of it, she said there's no question what we did with Severino drove up the price. We were setting the market.
Yeah.
Hard to believe, but we set the market down here in Dallas that, Severino, him getting the 3 years, David Forst told us off the air that they were in on Severino. They were in on Eovaldi, but for 2 years, 3 years, which I totally understand. It's a guy that's 35.
We looked it up last night. Cody was, 34?
He'll be turning 35. Yeah, he'll be turning 35.
35, 2 Tommy John surgeries. Yeah, I mean, obviously. But, Severino really set the market. So Nathan Eovaldi saw what Severino got with us, and then is like, I got to get a little bit more, and he did. 3 for 75. Good for him. And also big for him to stay in Texas. He's a Texas guy. We all know the stories from Alvin, Texas, went to the same high school as Nolan Ryan. So
throws hard.
Yeah.
Really, really. After how many Tommy Johns did he have?
2.
Was it 2? Okay.
And he's had other arm procedures, right? I remember we were talking about that last time. He's had more. He's had 2 Tommy John surgeries, but he's been cut on more than just 2 times.
Yeah. So it's a quality pickup for the Rangers, who were quiet up to this point. Then last night, after we got off the air, maybe under an hour, there was an interesting trade between the Blue Jays and the Guardians. Blue Jays acquired second baseman Andres Jimenez and right-handed reliever Nick Sandlin from the Guardians. Guardians received infielder Spencer Horwitz. And it got a little more interesting from there, because then the Guardians flipped Horwitz to the Pittsburgh Pirates for pitcher Luis Ortiz and prospects Josh Hartle and Michael Kennedy. Bit of a head scratcher, but we talked about it last night over dinner. Cody thinks the Guardians are shedding some payroll.
It didn't make sense. I don't understand
He's
it.
25 years old. He's a defensive wizard. Now, obviously, his offense is down from what he had a really good offensive year. Was it 21 or 22? He had a really good offensive year, but he's 25 years old. I mean, as a defensive second base, his WAR is always going to be high because his defense is so good. Is there a bigger move there for Cleveland? I think Julian McWilliams, if you guys missed it, Julian McWilliams was here. Remember, Julian covered the A's for The Athletic. Now he is covers the team, covers the Boston Red Sox for the Boston Globe. He wanted to go closer to home. It's a great example of what's going on in our game that hopefully is starting to change. It's kind of like what we talked about with the San Francisco Giants and Buster Posey, is when you've got so many of the baseball nerds in the room, so many of the smart guys, and it's what happened to the Red Sox with Chaim Bloom, and it sounds like it's still happening with Craig Breslow, is that you get so many smart people in the room that they become paralyzed and can't make decisions, because when you overanalyze stuff, you basically nitpick everything. I can, look at this young, strapping black belt right here. I've got a young, strapping black belt martial arts guru here who even teaches martial arts. He fights competitively, but yet I can look at this good-looking young man, and I could find some flaws with you, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I could, but I still know that I'd like to have you in the organization. They are so paralyzed. Some of these organizations, they take a player. You can find fault. We're human beings. You can find fault with everybody, right? You can find fault with anything. You take the greatest whatever. Could I find fault with Tom Cruise? Yeah. But guess what? I want Tom Cruise in my movie, because if I have Tom Cruise in my movie, there's going to be a boatload of people who want to see it. Is Tom Cruise perfect? No. But if I put him in my movie, we're making hundreds of millions of dollars. So, but if it was the Boston Red Sox would find every single reason why to not have Tom Cruise in the movie.
We're interested. We're interested in Tom Cruise.
I'm interested. I know Tom Cruise in the movie, it puts butts in the seats. We're filling theaters. We're selling it worldwide. Tom Cruise is going to sell this movie in Asia. People in Asia love Tom Cruise. So guess what? We do another Top Gun. It makes hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yep.
It's bottom line. But the Boston Red Sox would find every single reason why not to put Tom Cruise in that movie.
They think, why not Ben Affleck? He's,
well, why don't we do this and why don't we do that? It's like we have to stop as an industry trying to nitpick every single thing about the players. The players are going to be flawed because people are flawed. Remember, Tom Brady wasn't fast enough. Tom Brady's arm wasn't good enough. Tom Brady wasn't this. He wasn't that. You look at the greatest quarterback. If you had to say the two greatest quarterbacks of all time, at least from a winning standpoint, it's going to be Tom Brady and it's going to be Joe Montana. And neither guy is a draft combine darling. Neither guy is going to blow you away with his 40 time. Neither guy's going to blow you away with his vertical jump. Neither guy is going to rep 225, and neither guy is going to, his arm talent is going to wow you. But if I'm in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl, do I want Joe Montana and Tom Brady? You're goddamn right I do. Excuse my language, but that's the Boston Boston Red Sox would find every way to tell you why they wouldn't want Joe Montana out of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Remember, Joe Montana had the exact same amount of touchdowns as interceptions coming out of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. The Boston Red Sox would tell you why they would not want to draft Joe Montana. Would that look, and I love mentioning Joe Montana because so many of our listeners are 49er fans, and they know the greatness of Joe Montana. The Boston Red Sox would have found every single way why not to have Joe Montana. Are you really that smart then? Are you outsmarting yourself? Are these nerds outsmarting themselves? They would try and tell me why they would like to have two different quarterbacks. We platoon these quarterbacks, blah, 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 and why we would not draft Joe Montana.
Talking about
It sounds idiotic, and that's what's happening in our game.
Well, they're interested.
These front offices are paralyzed. They're paralyzed in their own decision making. And they're not real bit. The problem is with these data people, and I've said this before. Listen, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I think I'm nailing it on this one. You have to realize Billy Beane became Billy Beane because he's a risk taker. Billy Beane was all about wheeling and dealing. Billy Beane was all about risk. He had no problem with risk. He had no problem making deals and not winning the deal. He could live with that. He could look himself in the mirror and be able to say, I didn't win the deal. I'm okay with that. He was a risk taker. The problem with going with data people, the problem with going with these super smart guys, we call them baseball nerds, is you get into their business and their world because you're not a risk taker. Numbers people aren't risk takers, right? That's not who they are. They're not numbers. Numbers people by nature are not risk people. They're the guys in the background. The Billy Beanes of the world utilize them, and they give you the data, and then the risk taker takes it and then has to make the tough decision, buy, sell, do whatever. Problem is with baseball, we've taken these non-risk guys and made them the decision makers when they shouldn't be the decision makers. They should be the people in the background that help formulate the decision. They shouldn't be the decision makers because that's not who they are. By nature, when you are this super data person, when you're coding your whole life, you're not a real risk taker, right? You're not the guy going out on Friday night getting the pretty girl. You're the guy sitting at home in your parents' basement playing video games. That's the guy who's now running Major League Baseball teams, is the guy that's sitting at home playing video games at his parents' house on Friday and Saturday, not the guy that's the big-time bravado guy, but that the bravado guy is who's got to be the guy who's out there, because the bravado guy can sell agents, can sell players, can make deals. You've got the guy who's sitting at home who's the video game guy, the coding guy, now making the decisions at the top, and he can't make decisions because that's not who he is. You're going to sell Juan Soto, you've got to be the bravado guy. You got to be a wheeler and dealer and a sales guy. That's the bottom line. Am I wrong on that? The best executives you have ever seen, the guys who make the deals, are bravado people. They're salesmen. They're people that they know how to work people. Does the guy who grew up coding and went to Harvard, and he's a total data analysis guy, you put him in a room, you think he's wowing anybody?
I don't know how much money talks in that regard, but you got a point. Yeah.
I mean, David Stearns is not – David Stearns, who is running the Mets now, he's not the – you know who's doing that? You know who's doing that deal? The big boy. Steve Cohen is doing that deal. Steve Cohen is talking to that agent. Steve Cohen, who's a 20-something billion hedge fund. He's a business hedge fund big time. Because hedge fund – okay, what are hedge funds? Hedge funds are – a bunch of rich people put their money together and they invest, okay? And they make more money on their investment. That's what hedge funds are, right? And when you're the head guy, you're a bravado guy when you're like that. I've met some of these guys. When you're the leader of a hedge fund, when you're taking others people's money and growing it, you're the guy that's out whining and dining and having dinners and your private jets. You're doing all this. That's not these baseball nerds. They're not that. So at some point, to put a bow on this, at some point we have to stop looking at every single reason why you don't sign a player and realize every player is going to have some flaws. Like my guy, Josh Donaldson. You know what? Josh Donaldson had some flaws. Josh Donaldson wasn't the nicest guy. Josh Donaldson was a bravado guy. Josh Donaldson would tell people in the clubhouse when they were doing stuff wrong. He was a red ass. But you know what? Day in and day out in that fight, I wanted Josh Donaldson. You wanted Josh Donaldson on that wall. If you want to go a few good men, you want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. You need players like that. Mm-hmm. Not everybody's going to be perfect, right? Nobody's perfect. And these baseball nerds have to stop trying to figure out who the perfect players are to give their money to. I mean, it's just the bottom line.
Yeah, you don't get called the bringer of rain for being the nicest guy.
I mean, we just go through baseball. I mean, Ken Griffey Jr. wasn't perfect, as we found out. I mean, you start finding out about some of these guys, right? You start finding about personalities and who they are and how they fit in. Not everybody is perfect, right? We had a bunch of guys that we liked that were on steroids. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, probably the most imperfect guy of all time is probably the greatest player of all time, Barry Bonds. There has never been anybody better that's put on a uniform than Barry Bonds. And Barry Bonds was awful to deal with. He was an awful teammate for the most part. Certain guys, he was a great teammate too, but the majority of guys, he didn't even want to deal with. But he's Barry Bonds. You don't want Barry Bonds on your teammate? You don't want him. You don't want to put him in the lineup and play with him every single day? I can tell you, ask Rich Aureli what it was like. It was like, hey, man, having Barry Bonds in the lineup was great every day.
Didn't have to worry about it. One spot, just pencil him in.
It's Barry freaking Bonds. As the cover of Sports Illustrated said, I'm Barry Bonds and you're not. Not the easiest to deal with. How long is our man David Forst, the general manager of your Athletics?
A little over 15 minutes, and then we have Brian Kenny coming up at 11:45 here, so 9:45 on the West Coast.
Earlier today, it's a whole different winter meetings now with the A's spending money. Here is the general manager of the Athletics, David Forst. For the David Forst Show right here on A's Cast Live from the winter meetings in Texas. And boy, the world is just different around you, around the Athletics. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's nice to see you guys. I've been coming down the elevator all week and seeing your little outpost here, very conveniently located for our suite, and it's nice to finally sit down with you guys. I've been waiting for months for Cody's Rule 5 picks, so I'm excited to get to that at the end of the show.
You know, he hasn't slept. Like, he's been scouring who possibly could be taken today. And can we just be civil this time? It was kind of harsh in Nashville. You won out with Mitch Spence. He lost, but we just make this.
It's not about winning or losing. We're all in it for the same reason. So,
but the Rule 5, you think about it for the A's over the years. I remember when Mark Canha was selected, and we're like, all right, the kid out of Cal, he's local. He went to Parliament. I guess he could DH. Can he play third? Can he play first? Years later, he's your everyday center fielder.
Yeah.
You've had some great, with Mitch Spence, you've had some great luck and some great picks inside the Rule 5.
Head coach of Cal baseball, Mike New,
Yeah.
Rule 5 pick for the A's. And it's a good opportunity for anybody. And I assume we'll be taking someone today. I don't think we've quite yet settled on what we're going to do. We're not picking as high as we were the last couple of years. So you got to make sure, our pick doesn't go ahead of us. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunities. Obviously, the conversation, like you said, has been a little different. We've participated in the free agent market in a way that we haven't in a long time. Some would say ever, because we've given out our highest contract in franchise history. But we're still sort of mining every opportunity to add to this team that we think is going to be really exciting.
So when we had the first press conference in Sacramento, obviously we'll talk about Luis Severino. That is a huge, huge deal, who he is as a pitcher. But more importantly to me, it was the symbol of change, that our world, the way we have done business, the way you've done business, not only throughout your time with the Athletics, but especially recently through these hard times of transition. Tell us about what that was like for you, knowing that you were giving this contract out. Reports are there were different pitchers, but you were going to give a contract out that had never been given out by this organization. That was a huge symbol of change.
Yeah, and I think I said something on Friday about wanting to make a statement. I mean, the reality is, like, if you're going to participate in this particular free agent market, like, we were always going to have to be at that level. I mean, you've seen the deals handed out. It's a hot free agent market,
yes,
to say the least.
Versus last year, wow.
Yeah, no doubt, and that's a tribute to the players who are out there. But we knew going the offseason, starting pitching was a focus. We knew adding, experience, leadership, all those things at the top of the rotation were critical. And everything we'd learned about Sevy, the time we spent with him, we had, really good, calls with him before this, talking to his agent. We felt like this was a guy who, both on and off the field, was exactly what we were looking for. And I don't want to sort of overshadow what he did for the Mets in 24, the adjustments he made to his arsenal, the sinker, the sweeper, all these things. And I mentioned also on Friday the postseason experience. We were on the other end of that in 2018. But since then, he's been in big games. He's exactly the kind of guy that helps you take that next step we're so desperate to take again.
Yeah, you're talking about a guy who's started in 13 postseason games, pitched in 14, all in New York in the biggest market. But going back to the David, you can spend that money. What was that like, those conversations for you, the front office, where all of a sudden, yes, go out, make a statement, and be a player in free agency?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is it's not quite as sort of definitive of that, because free agency is a two-way street. And both sides have to agree, and there are still other players we're talking to. I will say, like, the feeling around my baseball operations group, around Mark and his staff, is like, hey, this is the part of the cycle that we remember where, yeah, now you start to add, you start to spend money, and whatever level it's at, it's always exciting to bring players in or to feel like you're in the right position to do that. I mean, obviously, the step back we took before 22 put us in a place where it just didn't make sense the last two off seasons to be aggressive and to say, like, hey, if we add A, B, and C, it will really make an impact. It will really change where we can be in the standings. We are at that point now. Obviously, Sevy's great. I would really like to do some more stuff, and we are having conversations. I can never come out and say, like, we're going to do more, because, like I said, players have to agree. Though getting Luis there, getting sort of this buy-in from guys that, okay, it's a little bit of an unknown in Sacramento. It's a AAA ballpark, but look, this is going to be a big league team, and we're going to try and do some things.
This is all, let's be honest, new, because these questions that I'm asking you, I wouldn't have asked you the past couple of years. You were just on with all the old GMs on Sirius XM. They're asking you questions that are different now. Yeah. Things are different for you in the way you're being covered.
Yeah, well, there's so much uncertainty around us up until, the middle of this year. Look, let's let's not sort of gloss over the hard feelings about leaving Oakland and very difficult time. I talk a lot about what an incredible job Mark did leading this group. And obviously the last homestand, was out front for everybody to see. But over the course of the year, I mean, we made this decision in April to go to Sacramento, and it was not an easy place to be for a lot of the season. And the fact that, we fought through some early tough times on the field. First half, second half, played 500. Mark kept this group together, and those guys deserve to, be talking about the things that you mentioned, talking about, hey, how do we keep this group together? How do we add to it? When do we get back into playoff contention? We improved by 19 games. How much can we improve by in 2025? That's what Mark and these guys on the field deserve to be talking about.
How are the conversations going with the agents when we talk about bringing guys to Sacramento?
Look, it's been pleasantly surprising because we've kept the focus on the team. And you talk about, look, now having Luis, obviously, we talk about Rook as the foundation of an offensive group that has Blade and Butler and Langoliers and Soderstrom and Geloff around him, and Jacobs here now, and Nick Kurtz is coming. You focus on what's on the field. You talk about a bullpen with, one of the best guys in the game at the back, and what a great job everybody did in front of Mason over the course of the season. So we've been able to talk about our team a lot. Yeah, we have to explain Sacramento. We send out renderings of what the clubhouse is going to look like, and the group up there is doing an incredible job getting that thing ready for opening day. But the focus is on the field, and that's the easy part of the job.
I remember from my day with the Raiders when they were making the move to Nevada, and when we're talking about agents, the big thing was obviously no state taxes in Nevada versus paying the highest rate in the state of California. Has that started to come up yet, or am I kind of putting the cart before the horse?
Look, it's always a conversation. It may be a little bit early right now. Luis's contract is 3 years, including the opt-in, and that covers our time in SAC. I do think, I don't know how many times I've said shovel in the ground over the last 25 years, but we're still talking about it. And, every day we inch a little bit closer, and you think about contracts that do go into 2028.
Yeah.
Those things are all part of the conversation. It's certainly part of the conversation we're having with our younger players now who are under control through then, who are maybe talking about contract extensions. That is an important part of our plan. And that's exciting to think about it that way.
Well, here in Dallas, we finally saw some trades. How's that market going right now? Because I got to think, you got a bunch of guys like, no way I'm trading any of these guys. You got a foundation going in. What's the trade market like for you?
It's funny. I met with our writers yesterday afternoon and said, like, the trade market's been really slow. You're hearing more about free agents. I'm not quite sure. And then, bam, Jimenez gets traded. Berger gets traded. Yeah. There's all this Kyle Tucker trade talk out there, and clearly I have no idea what I'm talking about. But we're engaged on both fronts, and a lot of the trade talk early on was more like, you saw the Brady Singer for Jonathan India trade, major leaguer for major leaguer. We've obviously done a lot of prospect deals in the past both ways. Like, we're still sort of feeling our way to figure out. But to your point, like, if you're going to come asking about the guys who I see as long-term pieces here, for lack of a better word, that's going to be a hard way to start a conversation.
Yeah, because J.J. Blade, no. Lawrence Butler, no. I mean, you go down the line, Shea Langoliers, no. I mean, you got all these guys. It's interesting. Dealing from a power of strength is such a it feels pretty good being here at the meetings. I know it's got to feel pretty good for you. I mean, third base is the one thing. I know we talked to Billy Owens yesterday here. That's the one thing. Any idea about third base going forward, or do you think you can handle and take care of it internally?
Yeah, I mean, I put a lot of emphasis the last few weeks on talking about that position, and there are internal options. Hernandez, Harris, Schumann, Max Muncy, I think, is going to get in that mix this spring training, and so I don't want to overlook that. That said, we are out there, again, both free agent and trades, looking at options for that position. It was the one spot on the diamond where we did run a lot of guys through over the course of the year. I don't know what the exact numbers are. And, Darryl got hurt early in the season. Brett went up and down. Shu did a really nice job bouncing around, and there's a lot of value in his versatility being able to do that. It'd be nice to have some concrete option over there.
When you talk about Luis Severino, obviously the big arm and going to be at the top of your rotation. But a key thing, too, is always the dynamic of our clubhouse being a great clubhouse. Just talk about what the research on him and everything says. This is a hell of a guy with a big arm.
Yeah, it is a critical component of everything we do. And Mark sets the tone in there, and Rook, who we mentioned just briefly earlier, Rook has sort of become the center of that group. And he's not the loudest, most vocal guy, but everyone around goes to him with questions. Everyone looks at how he does his work in the cage, how he played through injury the entire second half. We knew he was going to have to get his elbow fixed after the year, and he said, I'm going out there to play. So there's such a leadership by example. And my understanding is Sevy's the same way. He goes out there, he works hard. He spends the offseason studying his game, making adjustments the way he did for the Mets last year. And it's been a little while since we've had that guy in the rotation for others to look to.
You make the signing, you come down here to Dallas. Just tell the A's fans how excited you are with just the way things are, the momentum, the way things are going for 2025, knowing you're going to add to what you have now.
Yeah, it was fun to do that deal. It was fun to
It's fun again, David. It's fun again.
To have a press conference to go to. It was a little bit longer drive, but it was fun to have a press conference to get to, and field incoming calls. I mean, again, there are, we've been in this position before. Let's not forget, the playoff runs and the things we've done and we've all been a part of, and we know what it's like to be back there. And that's always the goal. Every time you and I get together and talk about, okay, let's get through this. Let's get through whatever we went through the last couple of years. The second half felt different. And I'd love to think that we can sort of kick off right where we left off. We're not really known for our fast starts. Maybe April and May will be different this time around.
Well, I can tell you, having Eric Martins was on, Mark Kotze's been on, Scott Emerson's been on.
What was behind Emo? What was going on behind him?
He's got jerseys.
I saw the jerseys. There's plaques on the wall. He's got like this little cave. I got to talk to Emo about what's behind him.
He was on Kotze about Kotze hasn't sent him a jersey yet. Oh, by the way, we've got to mention that a agent stopped by. Was talking to us, and then all of a sudden, somehow Harvard baseball came up, and he goes, you tell David Forst, he's like one of the only legit guys to ever come out of Harvard. Like a lot of smart guys played Harvard baseball, but when it came to he saw you play, he said, David Forst is one of the legit players to have ever played at Harvard.
I appreciate it. Whoever it was.
You were getting love.
I'm sure whoever it was has a client he needs us to sign. So it was very strategic.
Very smart.
Very strategic on his part. So
can we give yourself a little love that an agent was like, hey, tell Forst he could play a little bit. You could play a little bit.
I can barely walk from here to there without pulling a muscle right now.
Well, you're
Chris.
a pickleball guy now.
Tennis has become too difficult. I need to get to pickleball.
Commander, do you have some names for and let's be civil here. We're all on the same team.
The most look forward to segment of my life every year.
Let's go, Cody.
Okay, here's a couple guys. Rays right-hander Jack Hartman.
Okay.
Royals pitcher Noah Murdoch, who has a great ground ball rate on his sinker.
A great what rate?
Ground ball rate.
Ground ball rate. Yeah. Okay.
Guardians lefty Ryan Webb, very similar to Mitch Spence from all my research that I've read. Alex Cornwell, left-hander from the Cardinals, also a very good ground ball rate.
A lot of pitching.
And then the two position players, Tanner Murray from the Rays, second baseman / third baseman. We're looking for third baseman. And then another second base, third base from the Marlins, Ronnie Simon.
All right. I will confirm that some of those names came up last night in our meeting.
All right. I finally got we're on to something.
Finally on the board.
We found some common ground. How about that?
So next year we'll finally get it right. When I say we, I mean me.
Well, it's been a great meetings. It's been fun for us. It's been different.
I'm glad.
Thank you, David.
Like I said, I've seen you guys sitting here. I'm glad. I saw maybe one of our old managers came on and talked to you. You talked about all the current guys you've had. I'm glad to have given you some content.
I'll say it's fun to have a lot more confidence than when you bring the Giants people over. It's nice to have that. I now know how the Mets feel. It actually feels pretty darn good. You ever envision giving a guy $800 million?
No, I can't even imagine what that looks like or how you put that all together. I told you it's a hot free agent market. So
spending somebody else's money.
There's some dollars. There's some big dollars out there.
Well, we'll see what you do with the Rule 5 draft, and who knows what you'll still do down here in Dallas. If not, safe flights, happy holidays, and we'll see you in the new year.
Same to you guys.
Think about that. You're giving somebody else's money and guaranteeing what is the guarantee up to? 805.
Yeah, if he doesn't opt out after 2029, which we know he's not going to.
I can't believe people say that.
So
you're going to opt out of 700 and whatever 100 million. Come on. And at that point, when you're opting out, he'll be 31.
Yes, because 5 years from now.
Yeah. I would say this as his business advisor. Yeah, he's not opting out. I mean, to give somebody, I mean, there should be a part of those negotiations. I mean, it's not really, I mean, it's shocking in the baseball world. I mean, obviously in the soccer world, what we see over in Europe, we see these type of deals. Yeah. And when the oil money got into Europe, I mean, it was crazy. But Brian Kenny, where's my guy? Where is he? I'm looking here at the BK. I was upset. The one time we spend money and we're actually we're a player here at the winter meetings. You're not here.
I know. It's criminal. I wish I was.
How are you?
I'm doing well. It's a busy time of year. We're prepping for Hall of Fame. Again, we got good news there with Dick Allen and Dave Parker. We'll have the official announcement on MLB Network from the Plaque Gallery in Cooperstown, January 21st for Ichiro and maybe CC Sabathia, maybe Billy Wagner. But anyway, we're busy. But yeah, big stuff. You guys, big news with you. So, let's do it. You're always good to talk to you. So I'm glad you asked.
Well, you know, when you think about the Cobra going in, I mean, for someone like myself growing up, Dave Parker, when I was a little kid, had just a monster of a man. What a great player he was with Pittsburgh, then on to Cincinnati, and then would come to Oakland and win a championship with the Athletics, and was a huge mentor. When you find out, when we talk to like Mark McGuire and Jose Canseco and the veteran leadership he brought to truly one of the great teams of all time, the 1989 Oakland Athletics. So, and then Dick Allen is before me, so I can't speak a lot to it. I know a lot of people, he was tough to deal with, I guess, but what a terrific player. So let's start there. Happy for these two guys to get in, especially former A Dave Parker, while he's still alive.
Well, the last part, by the way, is where I hate to keep starting on that, but get them in while they're alive. And there was a veterans committee 10 years ago that had Minnie Mignoso and Dick Allen on it when they were alive, and they got nobody in. That's the worst case scenario. So I'm happy now Dave Parker goes in. Dick Allen, it's too late. And that's a shame, because Dick Allen has long been, like through the progression of years that I've followed the Hall of Fame, there's always been like the number one guy that should be in the Hall of Fame. It used to be Phil Rizzuto. Then it was Ron Santo for a long time. Then it was Dick Allen. And Dick Allen, to me, like with modern sabermetrics, and we're talking modern 20 years ago, 25 years ago, it was obvious he played in a dead ball era. He was putting up monstrous numbers. The more people you talk to, and then you can look it up in the metrics, he was an outstanding base runner. He was like actually a great base runner. So he was not some just one-dimensional slugger. And as far as the tough to deal with, I hear that so much about players that I know and players that I know now, that I always ask, is he tough to deal with, or is he his own guy? There's a big difference. You can be, quote unquote difficult, and there's a lot of ways to read into that. So in hindsight, like it became part of the narrative that he's tough to deal with. I don't know what's true and what's not true. He's before my time too. But a lot of times you wonder, especially with the racism he endured, how much was him? How much was everybody else? I don't know that. We just all know he was a hell of a player. And by using, the OPS plus and seeing where he was as compared to his run scoring environment, he was an out and out monster.
Now, one thing that, with you not being here, but being back home, that you can kind of give us the sense. I mean, you grew up a Yankee guy, and you think of the New York Yankees. I mean, they're the number one American sports franchise that we have. I mean, now the NFL has gotten to be so big, and people will argue some of the NFL teams, but the Yankees have been the standard in American professional sports and the championships and New York City. Just what is it like a few days after, where you had the New York Mets take a New York Yankee? We haven't seen really, I can't even remember the Yankees and the Mets battling over a player. Just Take us to the East Coast, the upper East Coast. Take us to New York. What is it like right now? Juan Soto, a New York Met, not a Yankee anymore.
Well, Met fans are ecstatic. I'm hearing from so many people around here. But you know what? And they're thrilled. But the Mets haven't been the little sisters of the poor for a while. And even like I'm older than you are. Growing up, they were a small-time club anyway. They had Tom Seaver. Like they were better than the Yankees when I was growing up until a few years later, and then the Yankees took over. So we have this image of the Derek Jeter, Bernie Williams Yankees, and they're the class organization, and the Mets are downtrodden. The Mets have competed for championships. The Mets have won pennants over the last decade. They've gone through, and now with Steve Cohen, obviously we knew they were going to be a player. So I don't know. It's not a shock from that aspect. I just think that Met fans are still like after the season that they just had, where once again it was tantalizing. They see they're close. They thought they were going to be taking a step back. I think that's more it. That hey, Lindor just had a great season. We just showed that we have a top flight president of baseball operations, an owner who wants it, and Steve Cohen. Talking about David Stearns, the GM, of course, and now like the money to back it up. That said, winning the free agent lottery is not the best thing. Again, you're going to be spending top dollar, 17% of your payroll on one player, and you can only do that for a few of them, and it limits what else you can do. So sometimes you win by losing. I would say the Yankees, this is not now they're second tier. I would say they have their work cut out for them, and Brian Cashman has to get creative. And a lot of times, Chris, you dodge a bullet. When you don't get the guy, you dodge a bullet. Now, maybe they didn't for like when the Giants were going to get Aaron Judge. Like maybe Aaron Judge turns out to be like Machado and Harper. A lot of times they don't.
Yeah, I've been saying here, I think I remember Miguel Cabrera signed that huge deal with the Ilitch family in Detroit. And when we would go to Detroit and Comerica, and we knew how bad things were getting, that contract did not age well. We'll see. Now the whole thing about an aircraft carrier player, Dan O'Dowd was just here the other day, and I asked, he's the author of the aircraft carrier. And
allegedly, reportedly, he's the air. Maybe fine. Maybe he is. I always say, reportedly, you came. He goes, that was mine. I'm like, I don't know. I seem to have been using it too, but fine. If you want that one, take that one. So fine.
For us loyalists to MLB now, you love to use aircraft carrier. I asked him, I said, if you talk aircraft carrier, a guy that's contract that could be up to $805 million, what do we now call that?
A super carrier. There's one in the U.S. Navy. I looked this up because I used it on a big screen behind me when I did an essay on MLB Now. Yeah. There's the USS Gerald Ford.
Yes.
It's a super carrier. It's 1.5 times size the jumbo carriers. So that's what right. I called aircraft carriers. It used to be 20 million. Then it was a salary of 25. So Soto is actually 2 super carriers. He's 2 aircraft carriers. He's 51 million per. He's 2. So again, it limits what you can do. We all know. I would say this about Soto. Can I just throw something in on Soto? While it's fresh in our minds, think of him in the World Series. That's Juan Soto, the best at bat in the game, the most locked in, clued in, with plate discipline, power, selection, contact, everything. And you get a guy in right field where you say, hey, shouldn't that have been a single? And the guy's on second. Shouldn't that have been a double? The guy's on third. And then base running. Hey, how come he got thrown out? How come Glaber got thrown out in the rundown after he went to second? And that stuff happens too. And that's happening when he's 25. So I'm not saying it's great. I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm saying it is what it is. It's great and it's terrible. And it's 15 years, which is usually not good.
Yeah, $800 million. It might be kind of a fleet. You might have to throw a sub in there with your carriers.
Can't afford a sub, right? That's the issue. You need subs. You need subs. You need all sorts of amphibious assault units. You need cruisers. You need battleships. And even Steve Cohen will get to a point where he goes, "No, you don't have it." And people think, no, he'll never run out of money. What just happened last year? He said, dump payroll. Like, I'm not spending this luxury tax if we're 500. Now, I'm not saying the Mets will be 500 next year, but it happened only 2 years ago. Suddenly they're 500, and any owner would look and say, I'm spending this enormous luxury tax on top of my payroll, and I'm 500. Dump. Like, so yeah, you're going to want a sub. You're going to want the whole wolf pack, and they're going to say, nope, can't afford it.
Okay, where were you? I don't know, driving around, maybe you're at work, and all of a sudden it pops up on your phone like all of us. Luis Severino has signed a 3-year deal with the Athletics. Where were you, and what were your first thoughts when you saw the A's have changed? This is a symbol of change, and the A's are spending money.
I said probably what most people said. I said, huh? What? Really? Really? Yeah, just there. Look, your whole organization is what we call mercurial, right? There's ups and downs. If allowed, David Forst and that whole unit that has come down from the Billy Bean tree is intelligent. They can put together a winner if you give them a chance. Just a matter of what the timetable is. I thought the timetable was still a year or two off before because I was at spring training for the A's this year, Chris.
Yes, yeah.
And so I remember talking to them, and every indication was we're a couple of years away from Las Vegas. You want your Vegas team to be great, to be playoff bound. So I thought it would be a little farther away. That's the type of move that you make, I would think, in a year or two for that type of player where you're looking to get to 87, 88 wins and get back to the playoffs.
We're hearing from Bob Nightingale. We were in on Max Fried. Obviously, Mania. David Forst was just here earlier today. The biggest thing, because I opened up the press conference that we did up in Sacramento, and I basically told everybody, I understand the player dynamic, the arm, we're happy, but it was more than that. It was the symbol of change. It was the closure of leaving a city, now opening up to a new world. The business model is changing, and there's something to be said in business when you're rebranding yourself. BK, there's just something. This was more than just getting a player. It was a symbol of change, and it happens. Same thing, kind of like they in a much bigger way. It's kind of the same thing with the Mets and Soto. You're showing that there is change.
Yes, and it's like it's even more practical than that, because what your club was lacking in the second half was innings. What they were lacking in the first half was just innings. You can see, hey, there's signs of a good team here. It is sort of on the way, because many people thought you'd be terrible last year, and then suddenly you weren't terrible. You were okay, and then you're okay with everything else. You need innings to get you through. So that I think it's practical. I think it's a signal. And looking long term, again, I'm sad about Oakland still, because that was the roots of sabermetrics and the mom and pop organization thinking of stuff on their own, being smarter than everybody else. When the culture was entrenched, they were like cavalry moving around, and I love that whole Oakland vibe. But I've been to Vegas a lot for the fight game over the last 30 years. Got a lot of friends in Vegas. They support their hockey team, the community, not just high rollers, gamblers, that sort of thing. I'm talking about the community there. I think there's a tremendous future in Las Vegas for baseball.
All right, let's end on this. We still have a long way to go here. I mean, we still got things going on here at the meetings. What would you like to see happen, whether it's signings, trades? What would you like to see?
Well, I mean, the more signings, the better as you move down. We've had the big ones now, so you can start moving down. That said, like I don't hang my hat on the whole free agent class. My advice at the start of this free agent class, again, was like, you can stay away. I would look how teams are reshaping themselves, how they're building smaller moves that we don't think of. Like, again, the Tigers making small moves that they were a lot better than we thought. So I look for the more interesting moves rather than the big money moves, the smaller moves, and what players can be reclaimed. So, yeah, again, big spectacular moves. I think there's going to be fewer big trades like that because there's fewer teams that are out. How many teams, in any given year will think we can't get to 85 wins? There's not that many. So I think we'll see less like big buying and selling, especially during this period.
Yeah, we got some corner guys. What's going to happen with Arenado? We got the first basemen that are out there. Walker, and we think about the polar bear, and what about Bregman? So there's some interesting players still out there.
Interesting, not top end. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Bregman's best years were past. Alonso is what he is, and that's another thing. Again, Alonso is not some superstar bat, but he's a very productive bat. So everybody you mention is yeah, but, and I'm not saying you don't want them on your team and they're not good. Bregman's still an excellent player. Alonso is he's a 300 total base guy, but we're not. And Arenado was an 8-win player, but now he's a yeah, but. Last year, not promising. It looked like he was starting to age. So there's a yeah, but for the rest of the class, and you can absolutely overspend on a player that's good but not great.
Well, all I know is this. We were told BK's not here, but do you still want him? And I'm like, I don't care where.
Is that the way it was put? Do
you still want him? And I said, I don't care where. I don't care. He'd be in Iceland. I don't care where he is. You give me my guy. I mean, I tell people there is no better show in our game than MLB Now. There is no better show. That's bottom line. And without you, I mean, your show, as you say, for the thinking fan, it makes us all. It makes us all smarter baseball fans. And plus what you do as a host in the other shows, and of course all these years, as you said, the fight game. So I don't care where you are. If we can get you, we got to have you on the show. Thank you for the time. We appreciate it. Have a great Christmas. Have a great holidays. And hopefully we'll see you at spring training. If not, we'll hook up soon.
We will. Thank you, Chris. Always a pleasure speaking with you, too. Thank you.
Take care, BK. Brian Kenny, he is the best. He's the best. See, you know what? Somebody's got to stir some things up in this business. And he's the one guy that does. Because a lot of what you get in this business is the chalk, former player. And he will challenge. He will take multiple sides. He has been somebody that's been on the side of analytics. And analytics has, I hate to say it's changed the game of baseball. Dude, analytics is everywhere in business. Everybody has analytics. Everybody has had their form of data in business. Doesn't matter your industry. Everybody has tracked numbers in their own industry. Everybody has always tracked your inventory. Everybody's always tracked their sales. That's all analytics, right? But he's done a great job. And MLB Now is by far the premier show in our game when it comes to television.
Yeah, I mean, I still make an effort to watch it, even though I have to watch it on the MLB app. I was just talking to our buddy Lou from MLB Network, the head of media relations for the network, and I was telling him, like, hey, when we get network back on YouTube? And he kind of went through it with me, our YouTube TV at least. That's what I have at home. But love the show. I mean, BK, Dan O'Dowd, I mean, all the guys that are on there, they're friends of the show, and I love watching it. We get smarter. We steal some of their content to use on our own, and to repurpose for our own. So
their research that they have a
staff,
their own MLB Network, if people don't know, is owned by the league. So they have their own research staff. You got
me, and that's about it.
I got him. So if you watching like MLB Now, when they put up their graphics and their research, you're damn right. I look at that and take pictures of it and bring it to our show and say, hey, look at these numbers. I mean, they have stuff that, they pay a lot of money. And luckily we're on that email where we get the notes every day. I mean, the notes because it's tough to cover 30 teams. It's hard enough to cover your own team and to know your own team, let alone 30 teams. Like, how the hell do we know what's going on with the Brewers and their system, or the Rays or the Twins, or the, having these notes and allowing someone to do that type of research like MLB Network is key. But that's having our connection with the network. Who knows? This show, as it develops and will change, never know where this show may end up someday.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, who would have thought we were where we're at, 4 or 5 years ago when we started audio streaming only. Now we're doing video. We're doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just essentially now.
It's evolving, Cody. It's evolving.
And we don't have a staff of 30 people working on it. It's you and I and Ray.
Well, just take the meetings alone. We have stopped seeing the teams come. We see very little national outlets, and we have provided you by far more content. Well, we're going to give you close to, I'd say, 17 hours worth of content and all the different interviews and all the different, not only all the stuff from our team and all the different other teams, we're giving you far more content than some of the national outlets that are here. I mean, from a Northern California standpoint, I don't even know what NBC Sports Bay Area. I know they have a booth here. We haven't really seen them do much.
Yeah, no.
They haven't done anything with us. I don't know how much they've done with the Giants.
Yeah. I mean,
we've had Bob Melvin on. We've had the Giant. We've done Giant stuff.
Yeah. I saw Buster was on MLB Network. I think both of them on MLB Network Radio on Sirius XM, which is right in front of us.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, Mike Ferrin was supposed to be here 4 minutes ago. He must be busy. He told me he'd be here in a minute, and that was 4 minutes ago. So I don't know. There he is.
He's stumbling over right now.
Tell him we're cutting his time short.
Yeah. As we sit here and we look at the watch. Look at the watch. I mean, when you're Barry Bonds, when you're the Barry Bonds of baseball media, you can show up and do whatever you want. As Jim Harbaugh once said, we're the 49ers. We can do whatever we want.
Are you saying I walk a lot?
Well, the great thing about this year's setup is that we've been able to watch what you do day in and day out.
Have you figured out what I do?
It ain't a whole hell of a lot. You do a lot of, Mike Ferrin, by the way, Sirius XM Power Alley. We were just talking to Brian Kinney. We just had Brian Kinney on the show. We love MLB Now. We talk about his show, what it's done for our sport, which your show has done for our sport on Sirius XM.
Is proof that anybody can be a radio show host.
And also what you do play-by-play wise. You're the voice of the WBC.
Proof that anybody can do play-by-play.
I'm trying to tell our audience that you're a big deal, and that's why you should be listening. You're why I still pay for Sirius XM so I can listen to your show.
I am America's favorite talk show filler. I think that's what it is.
We need
In fact,
something.
the reason I'm late is because somebody needed me for an interview. It's like talk shows and podcasts. That's what I'm the guest.
You're the guy that plays the highlights in
Nobody
the morning.
works for free quite as well as I do.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, man? It's good to see you.
We're wonderful. This meetings has been, we talked about it, how we launched this and back in 2019, and we showed up to the winter meetings in San Diego, and everybody is like, who the hell are you guys? The A's have this what? What are you doing? And to think that where we were then, where we are now, where the franchise is now, to where we came in here setting the pitching market. Hard to believe. I mean, things
in on Max Fried. How awesome is that?
Since you first met us and where we are now, a lot has changed.
Yeah. You're surprisingly not gray, so you're clearly dyeing your hair, which is great.
I have never dyed my hair.
Cody looks better than he did.
I don't
care whether you did or you didn't. And for this conversation, you dye your hair.
I would. I'll tell people I will when the time comes.
I won't. My barber said to me, he's like, have you thought about dyeing your hair? Because it's gotten pretty white.
You're kind of like me. It's like it's starting to come on the sides.
Yeah, but the beard I'm starting to look like an old
man. But you're not
man.
that gray up top, and neither am I.
It'll be red. I mean, I've got the salt and cayenne going for a couple more years.
You're a red beard?
Dude, yeah. I mean, can you not see? I guess you can't see it anymore because it's white.
You got the red beard going? You're the pirate?
I
like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
But Severino, I mean, when you think about it, we're just talking to Brian Kinney. I asked it, I've asked everybody, like, when that thing first popped up on your phone, what were your thoughts?
I was on the air. We were live. We're in the middle of talking about so we've been talking about all of the players that are on the Hall of Fame ballot, whether they're going to get elected or not, right? It's fun to remember some dudes, right? David Roth does that. We like to do it too. So we were talking to Ryan Spilborg, one of our colleagues, about Carlos Gonzalez, who was on the ballot. I love former A, right? Cargo, love Cargo, big fan of his. And so we were talking about him, and right at the end of the conversation, the news pops that the A's signed Severino, and we all went, wait, what? Whoa. And listen, I understand that they're in a position where they have to spend some, and probably more, because they don't want to run afoul of the collective bargaining agreement. But that was really impressive that they were able to add, guy who's great in the clubhouse, really good pro, and a very good starting pitcher to a mix where they really need starting pitching. I mean, they need to add one or two more. And I think that's what you heard them in on Fried, right? Is that they
and on Manaea,
and on Manaea. I mean, Manaea is a great fit for them, right? Obviously, they have history with Manaea. He's a little different, maybe even a little closer to when They got him from Kansas City in the Zobrist deal. He lowered his arm slots, more across his body. His stuff was really good in the postseason, I thought. Plus, Sean,
great
all-time
guy.
great dude, right? So, there's a number of things that they can do, and they were a 500 team over the last, 65 games of the season last year. So they've got a young offense that they probably could use, I think, a veteran bat to help reinforce that. But this is a team that should be competitive, and I think what is going to be a wide-open AL West. Houston has been the king for so long, right? It's tough to take down the king. But, man, if they end up trading Kyle Tucker, and there's been a lot of smoke about that the last 2 days, I know they played well without him for, a 40 or 50 game stretch last year, but if you trade Kyle Tucker
and Valdez,
and I think they'll only trade one of the two, but let's say they traded Tucker and lost Bregman. Even if they bring Bregman back, you're losing an elite level bat from that lineup. I think it changes the equation of that division pretty significantly. I am stunned that they would consider moving him if they want to make one more run with this group at a World Series title
in his prime.
I mean, he's a year from free agency, right? And they're probably not going to be able to sign him to an extension. And the smartest teams make moves like that, right? But I don't know how you're going to replace it. They're going to have to moneyball, right? Replace him in the aggregate at a bunch of different positions, and maybe that upgrades some, but you're also going to lose Kyle Tucker. Now, the advantage they have is they have Jordan Alvarez and they have Jose Altuve, who quietly had a great year last year. And if they bring back Bregman, they'd still have Bregman, but they get a little less scary if that's the case. Tucker's a real impact player, and so if the Astros were to move him, I think there would be a little bit. So you're saying there's a chance for the teams behind him, Seattle, the A's in particular.
Something hit me this morning. Julian McWilliams, who covers the Red Sox, he used to cover the A's for the Athletics, so he's been a good friend for a while. We were talking about the Red Sox because we said last night at dinner we knew he was coming on. It's like, who are the Red Sox now? They used to be a global power. Now what are they? And we were talking about Craig Breslow. We've known Breslow for a long time.
Sharp dude.
Yes. And we used to have him on the pregame show and was always billed as the smartest man in baseball. But you start to think about, from Chaim Bloom to him, and whether it's the Red Sox or anybody else, but when you have these really smart guys and all they do is nitpick every single thing about every single player, you can find fault in the most beautiful woman. You can find fault in the most beautiful thing. And sometimes it hurts you on making decisions because do you find that?
I don't think that's the case with Boston. Well, yeah,
but
I think there are some. I mean, I think that's always the case, right? I think a lot of it gets blamed on data-centric executives, but I think that's been the case with baseball people too. You fall in love with your own players is basically the same thing too, right? And so you decide not to make a deal that maybe you should have, or you don't want to push to the limit financially. Some of that comes from ownership too, or a good chunk of it comes from ownership. And so I think you have to weigh all of those factors together. I think in the Red Sox case, ownership had asked them to kind of pare back, and now ownership is and I don't know if it's my favorite theory is that that ownership, the Tom Werner and John Henry, watched The Comeback on Netflix, which is about the 2004 Red Sox, and they were like, wait a second, we used to be monsters, let's do it again, right? And that I think that's where it comes from. You take
I wouldn't be shocked by that, because think about it, it's kind of a reminder of this is who I used to be.
Right. And we used to be really good and
badass,
really feared, right? Yeah, we were the Red Sox. We turned into this. We have 4 World Series championships in the last 20 years, right?
And we morphed into we wanted to be more like the Rays. Why did we do that? Well, yeah.
Well, they had. I mean, the Mookie Betts trade set them back 5 years, really, and they did make the league championship series in 21, so it hasn't been all bad. But, when they couldn't get a contract extension done with Betts, then they knew they had to trade him. And when they got to the point that they had to trade him, imagine getting your dream job of running a baseball team and you're running one of the premier franchises in baseball. Congratulations, Chaim Bloom. The first thing we need you to do is to trade one of the best players in franchise history, because he's not going to re-sign. We're not going to re-sign him at the number that he wants. Like that's basically what they're
Have fun.
And then it's like, okay, I'm working on trades. And it's like, by the way, if you could move David Price's contract with that, we'd really appreciate it. So all of a sudden, then you're taking down the potential value that you're getting back because you're forcing another team to take the money on Price's contract, right? So all of that kind of set them down that path for a while. And, they made some big free agent moves. Trevor Story, they spent a lot of money on and blew out his elbow. And, what are you going to do, right? And then gets hurt, comes back and then hurts his shoulder in spring training this year and misses almost the entire year. Those are freakish things that you don't necessarily expect for a position player. Story had some elbow issues, but, that's not something you expect. You lose almost 2 full seasons of that guy. Generally, position players stay relatively healthy. And what they did do was we need to build through the farm system. Well, now their system is really good. The top of their system has 4 of the better position player prospects in Major League Baseball. I think at least one of them is going to be an all-star caliber Major League player. And I think there are probably at least one other that will be a solid regular. And the other 2 are likely going to end up being contributors. Now, don't ask me which ones they're going to be because I'm not that smart, but I think that's reasonable to think based on where things stand. And so now all of a sudden they're in a position, in part because Bloom built that way and because they have had some of those financial checks where they can, they're dealing from a position of strength in both the trade market and the fact that the ownership has approved them to spend some money. So the world is their oyster. They almost have too many options available.
Well, and it's okay, it all, as Julian was saying, it all sounds great. When's it going to happen?
Well, that's what Red Sox fans want, right? It's don't tell me how rocky the water is, dock the freaking boat, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. It's all of it is great theoretically, but definitely the messaging has changed from ownership in their front office this winter. And I don't think that, listen, I do not think that Sam Kennedy, their president and CEO, is a liar at all. I've known Sam professionally for a decade plus, and I think he's a pretty straight shooter. He has to wear a lot of slings and arrows for the owners, but he is a guy that if he says listen, we're pushing this forward, we need to be the Red Sox again, just know they're making the effort to be that, and there are a lot of different paths that they have available to them. It doesn't have to be just free agency. Because of the strength of their system, they can do things some of the other teams can't.
And all of a sudden, Heim is now walking into another historic franchise and another tough situation as Mo's going to step down. Heim's going to take over. Talk about the St. Louis Cardinals. We've both been over there at KMOX with those guys. It's wow, another historic franchise trying to figure out who the hell are we?
Yeah, and literally was just before I came on, was recording Garrett Gould's podcast talking about the Cardinals. And it's a really interesting situation in that, Chaim Bloom is building the infrastructure of the Cardinals organization, hiring coaches and scouts and data, technology, making sure that they're up to speed on all of that for a year before he takes over as the president of baseball operations, while John Mozeliak's retirement tour is trying to reallocate resources on the big league roster and make them competitive in the short term. So it's a weird dynamic. I mean, obviously they have to work together on that, but they're very much in transition right now. They're going to give opportunities to young players. Cardinals haven't done that in a long time without having them be broken in under the tutelage of stars who could take a lot of that pressure off of them. So I'm very curious to see what happens with St. Louis because they have some talented players that have not produced yet at the big league level. We know that player development isn't linear. Some guys take longer than others. I think the downside is what if it doesn't work? What if some of these guys aren't as good as we thought they were? Which is, again, this is an imperfect business, even with all of the objective and subjective data that we have. So, yeah, watching the Cardinals is going to be really interesting to see how they perform this year, knowing that it's going to be a lot younger roster than it has been.
So we brought up Arenado, and we've had a bunch of people reach out. Yes, no. Obviously, we're not on his list, but just bringing it up third base. Third base is an issue for us. But anybody who does, what do you think he's got left?
Well, I think he's still one of the best defenders. I think he's really good there. I think he's a really diligent worker. He was kind of a league average-ish offensive player this year, playing in not great offensive ballpark. I mean, Busch Stadium is not the easiest place to hit. I don't think he's probably quite where he was number-wise this year. I think he's probably a little bit better.
I mean, we talk league average. What was he? 101 on his OPS plus. 100 is as average as you get. He was 101.
So he was average. I think he's probably 5 to 10% better at this point, but with still, at least for the next couple of years, if not all three in the contract, elite defense at third. So I think he's a very valuable player. I don't think he's a focal point of an offense at this point. I think he's more a complementary piece, but there's still a lot left in the tank. I mean, he's a slam dunk Hall of Famer for me. I mean, nobody ever won a Gold Glove Award in the first 10 seasons of the big leagues. He has the most of any third baseman. I think he's tied with Mike Schmidt, right? So, like, you're talking about an elite level player. Yeah, I mean, he's just one of the great.
If you put Scott Rowland in, Arenado's getting in.
Yeah, well, don't say that like that with Scott Rowland, because Scott Rowland deserves to be in the Hall.
I'm just saying, if Scott Rowland's there, Arenado's.
Arenado's a slam dunk Hall of Famer. So, but I don't think it's going to be
3 years
like,
left.
He's not going to fall off a cliff.
Are you taking those 3 years?
How much money are the Cardinals eating?
We don't know. I'm just saying, do you want him? Let's say you have to take it all.
If I have to take it all, I mean,
it's
if
not
I
a
have the
lot,
payroll,
though. By the way, it's not a lot.
$60 some odd million, right?
When you break it down, it's like 25. No, it's 21, 16, and 15.
Well, that's with $10 million of that paid by the Rockies, I think brings those numbers down to that, right? I think it's actually 27.
Take him. Why not?
22. I like him a lot. I don't know that he's going to be able, like, it would be a really incredible sales pitch for David Forst to pull off, to be able to pitch him on going to the A's. There are going to be a number of players. I mean, we heard Kotze say this, a month ago. He was doing the event at USC. Like, Walker Buehler wasn't interested in coming to West Sacramento. That's going to be the reality for a lot of players, and especially one who can control his own destiny. You know what I mean?
It's going to be this year, because I can tell you, and I bring in my NFL experience with the Raiders, the minute that these contracts are now going to Nevada, now that you say, okay, you come to Sacramento, you maybe eat 2 years or 1 year, everything after this is no state taxes for your 81 home games. That's going to change things dramatically.
Yeah, I think in a couple years even I would say that. Maybe in the last year in Sacramento before they go into Vegas, maybe they can start doing that. It's going to take somebody who just, like, most people care about the environment that they're in. I think probably players have, unless they're from Sacramento or spent time there, may not have a good feel for what the city is like, right?
Baseball people need to remember this is an NBA city.
Yeah, it's a big city.
But you understand. I think a lot of people are like, it's AAA. I'm like, guys, they got the NBA.
It is a AAA ballpark, but also, like, I'm fascinated to see what the environment is like. A's fans in Oakland, better than anybody. The environment there was incredible, in spite of the fact that the Coliseum, which was enormous, was usually about 20% full.
This environment's going to be sold out every game.
It's going to be sold out every night. It's going to be a similar number of fans, but in a much more, And so I have to think that the energy there is going to be pretty good and pretty cool. Like, there's going to be some stuff that's weird, right? So I'll use an example. Like, living in Phoenix, the last 2 years that the Coyotes were there, they played at Mullet Arena, which is on the ASU campus. The Coyotes got kicked out of their facility for not paying the rent. I'm not making that up. And so they ended up having to play in this smaller on-campus arena at ASU. Arizona State has a Division I hockey team, which I think is the best. But so the arena that they use for that, the Mullet Arena, seats about 5,000 people.
I did not know that A-State had a Division I team.
Oh, yeah. They're pretty good. Shane Doan's kid played there. Like, they have players in the NHL.
I mean, when you think of the Frozen Four, you don't think Arizona State.
Wasn't Lemieux's kid there too? I think Lemieux's kid was there too.
Yeah.
Mario? You call him Mario. I call him Mario.
Super Mario.
So anyway, they went onto this arena that was 4,500 seats on campus. Great place to see a hockey game. Like, it was like the East Coast, like, small college arenas, right? But you're watching the NHL there, and it's kind of like, man, this is weird, right? Like, it feels a little weird. There's going to be that with the first part in Sacramento. It's going to be the same thing in Tampa with the Rays. You know what I mean? It's going to be like man, this is a little weird, but you'll get used to it.
I dealt with it, remember, and I think this is where I hammered baseball people who were complaining. I'm like, do you guys not remember the Chargers playing in the soccer stadium at Carson?
That's right.
I worked multiple games there.
That's a great point.
I'll give you another one. The Minnesota Vikings had to play at the University of Minnesota when they were getting their building
a little
done.
bit bigger facility.
It
The
was
University
well
of
under
Minnesota
50.
is like
It's under 50,000.
Is it at University of
Yeah,
Minnesota?
I
I
believe
always thought
so.
the only one that was under 50,000 on the Big Ten was Northwestern.
Or it's right at 50. It's not.
It's not. I mean, but
it's not luxury suites.
Listen,
It's not NFL.
I mean, come on, Soldier
right?
Field is 61,000. That stadium is new enough in Minneapolis that there are luxury suites there. I mean, it is.
Is there?
Yeah, in the University of Minnesota.
Then my best
you can't
one
build
is
a stadium without luxury suites. That's where the money is.
50,805.
Yeah, it's only 50,000 compared to what the new
I mean,
Vikings.
it's almost 51.
The new Viking stadium's incredible.
Yeah.
Right. What they're but go back to the Chargers. They played in a 25,000 soccer stadium that everybody bitched about, and now no one even remembers.
Right.
So that's why I tell people the whole Sacramento or even the Tampa thing that we have to deal with. This is a blip. It's a blip. We will forget about it.
For
in
us,
years.
but remember, our careers are going to be a lot longer than players. 3 years is a long time for players. It is. They're not looking. When you were 25 years old or 30 years old, 3 years seemed like an eternity. Now it seems like a blip because we're old men.
When were we 25?
That was a long time ago.
God, that was
the 90s.
That was the 90s. My last year at that 95, so thinking like San Jose State, 95. God, we are old, huh?
Oh man.
But you know what? You've aged with greatness. Your show, your career.
I'm like a fine bottle of booze. Farm.
What do you as we get out of here? I mean, there's still stuff, and as David Forst told us, not only Rule 5, which Rule 5 has been big for the A's. We've gotten some really good picks out of Rule 5.
Mitch Spence was great last year.
Oh, no doubt. I remind everybody, Mark Canna.
Yeah.
We've had some great Rule 5s. There's still some deals going on. I was in the elevator with two guys who were panicked. They had to end up writing down because they got it wrong, and they were like, we need to get there. So there's still stuff going on now. What do you want to see? Not necessarily the end of this meet, but before Christmas.
I don't know that there's anything specific that I want to see. I am heartened as a fan of trades that there have been, in talking to a lot of executives this week, much more conversation on Major Leaguer for Major Leaguer trades because I think those are the most fun.
Yes.
I think we're going to see a lot more of those over the course of the next 30 days. That I'm really looking forward to. And I'm looking forward to, I hope that there's one at some point that like gets you. Like, and we have been, I think we are lax as a media anymore in like one good name gets dealt for 3 prospects and we call it a blockbuster. That's not a blockbuster. But if you can get a star-for-star deal, that's what I would really love. I think the odds of that happening are probably a little longer, but I think you're going to see some Major League regulars traded for Major League regulars, and that's going to be really interesting.
One of the biggest questions that I have is, what does your wife get you for Christmas? Because I've seen your backyard. I know I can't wait for 2025 and the amazing spread that you guys put on during spring training. Does she go like another green egg, another Traeger? Do you go straight charcoal grill? Like, what does she do for you for Christmas?
It's a great question because
that's probably the
I'm
number
trying
one
to come
question
up
I have.
With
what do you need?
Ideas. What I need. This is what I asked for Christmas. A pair of shoes that aren't Crocs that I can slip on to take the garbage out.
Like Birkenstocks or
I don't want an open toe. I got to go out in the alley.
Hey, dudes.
Hey, dudes.
I have a pair of them. They're good.
Hey, dudes. So something like that I can leave by the back door so I don't have to like put on socks and stuff. And I can just be, when she's like, oh, the garbage needs to go out, I can actually take it out as opposed to saying, yeah. So
and you're not dealing with weather.
No,
you don't have to go through snow to do this.
That's all I want.
That's it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, peace and happiness for everybody too. But
come on,
we got
to get you something for the party.
We're trying to decide on the menu right now.
The charcuterie That wasn't even a board. That was like
I'm going to tell her
a table.
She's
it was
always afraid
incredible.
that nobody appreciates her charcuterie boards.
That wasn't. It was a full table of cured meats and cheeses.
Yeah, and then there was a ton of meat served after it. I think our idea was we were going to potentially do a sausage fest.
Well, we're already at that at the winter meetings.
We may do a whole bunch of different kinds of encased meats. Last year was rib buffet.
Did I just say that?
I was hoping that you would.
We're not on cable yet. We're not on cable yet, so we're fine.
Oh, it's cable too.
Well, they're not even on that. We have. I can't remember who coined this, but it is true. It's the middle-aged men wearing Lululemon pants now. That's basically
and quarter zips, and I fit that narrative correctly.
And that's
quarter zips. I've got the quarter zip on today.
You don't have Lululemons.
I have
on.
seen a lot more of hoodie under the sport coat.
Yeah, Aaron Boone look.
Yes, although Booney yesterday he went full Mike Bray. I don't know if you noticed that.
He had like a turtleneck.
He had like the black mock turtleneck, the electric blue coat, the sport coat he had on. Incredible. Let me say, I was talking with 3 different writers, and writers are not known for their fashion, right? None of us in the media are known for our fashion. But we were talking about Nelson Cruz has been here, one of the best dudes in baseball history. And one of them was saying, I would love to see his closet of outerwear jackets because the ones he's worn here have been sensational. Like Nelson Cruz, best dressed at the winter meetings this year.
We need to do like a Cribs for baseball. Remember the show Cribs?
Yeah.
Just check in like what do you got rolling? Because these guys
we'll call it mothballs. Cody can be the host.
I can't tell you and thank you enough. You downplay it, but you are a big deal. I can't thank you enough for the support you've had. Like I said, when we launched this thing in 2019, where we are now, where we're going, it's all going up. And thank you for always supporting us. It means a lot.
I am all for more baseball talk, right? I think, as you guys found, and one of the reasons why A's Cast existed is that it's an NFL world in sports radio. And so anytime you can find something that for the sport that I care the most about, I think what you guys have done is terrific. It's been so much fun to watch it grow. I wish other teams would get in on doing this because I think it is a way to be able to, as your listeners and viewers can attest to connect your team and your audience and the thousands of A's fans that otherwise wouldn't get an opportunity to be able to hear or talk about the team because they just doesn't exist. It's a niche, right? But it's a pretty big niche. And I think especially if you're in a market where the conversation is dominated by the NFL, it is really important to be able to find ways to connect your audience to the product. And so if you're one of those teams that's not in a major market, you should be doing what these guys are doing.
Tell your wife the guys from the Bay Area like the board.
I will.
Is that shocking? The guys from the Bay Area like the charcuterie board?
She'll be like, which ones were those? She claims she has face blindness where she can't tell who anybody is.
All of us look the same.
She claims it. I think she just doesn't want to remember. I think it's just one of those.
She's like, oh, you're media
there's
friends.
more middle-aged people that are over.
These middle-aged guys freeloading another meal.
She has rankings, too.
I bet we're not high on the rankings.
Well,
we're new.
Spend time with her, asking her about how she is and her life, and take interest. And you'll be right at the top of her list. She'll remember your name.
Coming in going, yeah, I'm going to let her know. I came for this.
Hey, only one person, CJ Nitkowski, the only one to ever bring her flowers. So that's another way to get.
All right, we're bringing something. We're gonna bring Gucci loafers for for the Duke, and we'll have something for your wife. Thank you so much.
Duke needs the white cousin Eddie's. That's what he needs.
I watched Christmas Vacation on the way over here. I forget how great of a movie that is. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, guys.
Mike Ferrin, the great Mike Ferrin, right here on A's Cast Live. What do we got going? We got
Kiley's here.
Kiley McDaniel's in the bullpen.
Yep.
Oh wait, you want to say hello to him, Mike?
No.
Hold on. Here you go.
Kiley's here. That's it.
Yep. That sounds about like Mike.
Yeah.
You want to hang on so we can hang up on me.
He's a beauty. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
As of right now, I can tell you all the baseball executives are heading to the Rule 5 draft. I know it's not super exciting for the fans, But like we have talked about, Mitch Spence, who ended up having 24 starts for us last year. We talked with David Forst earlier today, our general manager, laughing about it. Like when Mark Canha was selected. Now, obviously, Mark Canha went to Bellarmine High School in San Jose, then went to Cal for college. So he was a local guy. He was someone that had power, and you're like, well, DH, maybe first base, maybe third. Who would have thought years later Mark Canha would be our everyday center fielder? So you can find some serious value in the Rule 5 draft.
Yeah, I would say like there are useful sort of Mitch Spence like guys almost every year, probably a couple of them in a good year. And then every 3 or 4 years you get that, Shane Victorino or Dan Ugla or Johan Santana, like whoever that like breakthrough, like maybe makes an all-star game kind of guy is. There's already been some rumors about who the first pick's going to be. Sounds like more of like a middle reliever setup guy if it works out pretty well from the Brewers and a report from Jonathan Mayo. But yeah, usually it takes until about April, May to see if you've got a guy. But yeah, there's probably going to be a couple good big leaguers in there that their team didn't realize they were good yet, which is always tough to like beat the team that knows them the best projecting this guy.
Yeah, I can't wait to see who we select because it's going to be interesting because that player is with you for the season. He's going to be on your roster, hopefully, and going to make a big impact. So thoughts so far? I mean, now that Fried signed, Berger's now going to the Rangers. A lot of people have liked to talk to us about Luis Severino, kind of really changed the how people feel about the Athletics going forward. Obviously, the Juan Soto. So far, kind of a little summary of what you thought of the meeting that have gone down so far here in Dallas.
Obviously, Juan Soto is the big story, and I think the sort of posture right now of the industry, all the conversations I'm having, are the teams that were in the running for him. What do they do with all the money they had earmarked for him on other guys? Obviously, we saw Toronto spend some of that on Andres Jimenez yesterday in an effort to get to that sort of playoff contention. Sounds like the Red Sox have missed out on a number of guys. We actually saw a report today that Oakland was in the late bidding on Max Fried, so presumably.
How much does that shock you?
Yeah, well, I knew they were in on the bidding on some players, I don't know, 3-4 days before the Severino thing happened, that they were bidding on other pitchers. I just thought it was going to be one notable free agent pitcher, maybe some smaller guys, smaller deals than Severino. I didn't think they were going to be hunting at that end of the market. But yeah, I'm actually apologies, but I have my Twitter open because I don't want to tip anything, but we're told there could be something big happening while I'm on the air. So I want to make sure that I'm keeping track of it because I think I got a good idea what it is. If what I think is going to happen happens in the next 15 minutes, I'll tell you. But yeah, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of dominoes, and I think teams have started now paying attention to Houston, a potential trade. They've started paying attention to Houston because Alex Bregman, if and when he signs, if he returns, does Kyle Tucker then become a trade chip? I think Boston is about to figure out who's going to take their money, in the way that like San Francisco was a couple years ago, where a couple guys turned them down and then they found someone to take their money. I think those are like the dominoes that are like poised to happen in the next, week or so. And then we'll see if maybe they happen today or on this call.
That's pretty fascinating. You're talking about a major trade going down because all of the executives are walking right in front of us as they're heading, because where they're going to do the Rule 5 draft is just down the way from us. So they are all walking right now as the draft is going to start at 1:00. So they're doing this deal as we're talking to you, and they're getting ready for the Rule 5 pick. That's interesting.
Yeah, I noticed I think it was the Fried deal last night happened during the draft lottery. So I like missed it by like 5 minutes because I was busy watching the draft lottery. And I'm like, these guys could wait 10 minutes and this thing would be over.
Yeah, it's what we're excited about is like last year, all we did was sit around for 3 days talking about how no one's done anything. And then as we were all heading to the airport, San Diego traded Juan Soto to the Yankees. At least this year we got stuff going on, money being spent, trades happening, because you start to worry, like if nothing happens at the winter meetings, no one would come, because this truly is a great event in our game where everybody gets to get, obviously for the organizations and the business to all get together and meet. But for us, the drama around it's a lot of fun. And when you have these signings, it's like, yeah, there's nothing better than the winter meetings.
Yeah, you want some action. Like ideally the offseason would be sort of like the basketball offseason where like the starting gun goes off and half the guys sign in 3 days. and it's a flurry of activity and there's a lot of attention on the game, and not the sort of Boris Forst signing on March 15th when pitchers and catchers have already shown up. You'd like to condense it some, and ideally, like, I don't know, what, 2/3 of the stuff being done before Christmas and half of that happening at the winter meetings. I mean, that's almost what's happened. Like, not a whole lot happened before the winter meetings, and a good bit of it has happened this week. And I think we'll see today and early tomorrow, I think we'll see a little bit more happening. So I think it's gone like closer to what people would like it to be. Whereas we've seen in the past, there's been some off seasons where they're just as a standoff. I think the local cable deals was an impact on it last year. Is the reason stuff got pushed back, as teams were waiting for certainty about payrolls and players weren't getting the offers they wanted. And I think other years we've either had post or pre CBA stuff where teams are incentivized either to spend or not to spend. And this year it seems to be a bit of a happy medium where I think people are feeling better about revenues and all that. And then, now the players are seeing the offers that they like early in the process, specifically Boris players and Boris pitchers. I think they were 5 of the first 6 deals over $10 million were Boris represented pitchers, both because he has a bunch of them. I think he still has like 3 more left. But because he saw last year, like, you can't have these guys signing in March. If they have a bad season, they're going to blame you because you waited too long. If you get a good offer early, just take it. And obviously the teams like that they can, be taken seriously early if they come with a reasonable offer.
Yeah. Luis Severino told us on this show, it's like you want to have something done before Christmas. And when we expanded with that with Johnny Gomes, our old buddy Johnny Gomes stopped by. It's like, yeah, you want to have a job. Christmas time, family's coming over, everybody's asking, hey, where are you playing next year? I mean, you want to have something done. Teams want to have something done because now they're selling, hey, season tickets, hey, spring training. Buy now. We have Christmas deals, New Year. Like, so everybody wants this thing. You want to have your prize done before Christmas. And obviously Boris took some heat last year. There's no question he took some heat. So getting things done early now. By the way, the rumors are you hearing that this thing could come down in about 15 minutes. Are we a part of it at all?
I don't believe so.
Okay. All right. Because our executives are about to walk by. We're going to be like, hey, what are we doing? What are we going to make a trade?
Yeah, I don't think the A's will be included in this trade or this back and forth or at whatever stage they're at. It might happen in 5 days, but it's, something that should happen reasonably soon. And I think there's, like I mentioned before, there's a number of free agents I think will sign in the next couple of days. Maybe if you take it through the weekend to Monday, like I think there's a number of dominoes that are sort of waiting to fall in the wake of, like I said, of the Soto stuff and then Fried and Severino and some of these other guys. I think have now set it up that enough teams are like, all right, there's only 2 starting pitchers we like. We got to start making some bids now. We can't just wait for prices to come down. There's only so many good players left.
Yeah. And I in your experience, I don't know how we've never seen this before, but if you're a team that was really, really in on Juan Soto and you were talking $700+ million and you're an agent that now represents somebody else or
Teoscar
even
Hernandez or Santander, who
right.
Are like
and now all of a sudden they've got to pivot. I mean, talking about the money, it's like funny in business. You'd be like, well, clearly you have plenty of money. You earmarked over $700 million for one guy. I want to get my guy done. Isn't that interesting? We've never really seen you were ready to commit to this. You didn't sign the player. Now you got to go back to these other players. And obviously these players know you got a lot of money.
Yeah, and what the teams would say, which is correct, is we weren't ready to spend $700 million on anybody. We were ready to spend up to $50 million a year, structured in some sort of way, which could have been front or backloaded, or however the teams may have done it. And that 50 means 3 good free agents, something like that. And so if you're Christian Walker looking for roughly $20 million a year, and you're talking to the Yankees, it's like, well, they were ready to spend 50, and you would be 20 of it. So there'd be you plus another guy, plus maybe like a reliever or a part-time guy or a back-end starter. And like, that's a little more reasonable. I think that is probably the replacement for Juan Soto, is you get another big bat, maybe a second bat to sort of fill out whatever your weakness is, and then a nice third guy to have, or save some money to then roll it into like an in-season addition, or someone gets an extension, or whatever it might be. But yeah, telling a player like, hey, Christian Walker, we're going to offer you 60. We were going to give 760 to Juan Soto, but just be okay with it being 700 mil lower than that. That obviously doesn't feel great, even if though there is like a logical explanation. Emotionally, you don't want to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, most people think like, how do you do that? How do you go from negotiating 700 then being like, well, we only have this for you? Definitely definitely interesting. All right, some of the names left, the big names left, whether you're going to maybe trade for Arenado or you want Bregman, you can just go buy him, or the Polar Bear or Walker, or you want Corbin. Who are the names you'd be excited about that are still left on the board that we're talking about?
I'm going to look to my second monitor here and pull up my free agent sheet, and then I can tell you with some certainty. Well, obviously Hiroki Sasaki is sort of the big prize here, because I think if there was open bidding like there was for Yamamoto last year, and he'd be 2 years younger, I think he'd get at least $250 million, maybe 300, and you cannot pay him more than $10 million. So the idea that he would return that much value if you could sort of win the college recruitment, essentially, of we're a better place for you than these other guys.
That's all this is, right? This is just like,
yeah, there's nothing else to really offer.
You're
Like, you could say
yourself.
we have a spot in the rotation, or we're a smaller market, but those are all the things that like Oregon would do going head to head with Texas for a recruit. It's just, what's the stadium like? What are the facilities like? How good are the coaches? And we have a really nice dorm. Like, it's stuff like that.
You're going to have all these video games. You're going to love the locker room. You're going to love all that.
We got bumper pool. I don't know if you know that. Yeah.
Yeah. And here's some little nil money on the side. Other than him, who do you like? What do you see?
In terms of like return on value, I think Christian Walker is going to be a really nice return, because like I said, I think it's going to be in that like 55 to 70 million. You're getting a Gold Glover that's an above average hitter, 3-WAR player. Because he's 34, you're not going to have to go more than 2 or 3 years. If it's 3 for 60 to solve the problem for the Yankees at first base, I can be very confident for 2 years he's going to be a good answer, and you just hope he's good for the third year. For that versus what they were talking about is like very palatable. And then I would say the other guy that I'm interested in would be Walker Buehler, who I was surprised didn't get offered the qualifying offer of 1 year at 21 and change. I think he'll probably get something in like the 3 to 60, like the 3 times the qualifying offer, which is why I'm surprised he didn't get offered it in the first place. Maybe the Dodgers have done this before. When it came to Clayton Kershaw, didn't offer him the QO because he was going to come back. I think Buehler would have signed now if he was coming back. But I think, 3 for 60 roughly, maybe like 4 for 80, something like that. He was a $200 million pitcher like 2 years ago. And I think at the end of the season, he started figuring some stuff out there. There's a lot of good players, Bregman, Burns, these guys. I think they're all going to get paid roughly what they're worth. In reality, probably a little more than they're worth, because that's how free agent bidding works. But I think Buehler and Walker would be the highest money guys that I would feel confident are going to be a solid ROI with the chance to really be worth a lot of money, but at least return what you're paying them.
Yeah, we know Walker Buehler is really looking for 4, because that was one of the things that turned us off with him. That when we were talking with him, David Forst told us earlier today, it's like, yeah, Manaea wants a 4th year, Walker wants a 4th year, and
those are the 2 guys I heard the A's were interested in before the Severino deal. So that is not shocking to hear that was the problem.
Yeah, we were not going to go that 4th year. So we'll see what guys get. All right. Hey, we appreciate it. Have a great Christmas. Have a great holidays. And we'll talk to you in 2025. And hopefully more around spring training. Get this thing going, because the A's are a different team now. The franchise is different, Kiley.
I'm excited for you. Yeah. And if a huge trade comes down with a top 100 prospect involved in like the next hour, you'll know what I was talking about. And if it doesn't, then, you'll just never know what I was talking about.
Fact. Good stuff. We'll talk to you soon. Be well.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
I'm telling you, I would like to know if it involves the guys I saw in the elevator, because I have no idea who they were, but they missed a floor and they were a little panicked, and they needed to get, because I'm on the 8th floor. They came down, my thing opened up, I got in, there was another couple in there, and they had missed the floor, and they were like, come on, we got to go, because they had to ride all the way down with us and then get all the way. And normally, why would you care? Not a big deal, go down, but time was of the essence for these 2 men in Major League Baseball in the elevator I was in.
So what John Hammond's reporting earlier, about 20 minutes ago, the Astros want Rookie of the Year Luis Gil and a package for Kyle Tucker with the Astros.
Wow.
So maybe that involves prospects. I don't know if it's what top 100 prospect could be in there. Apparently the discussion between the Cubs involving Seiya Suzuki.
Wait. Let's go back. If you're telling me I give up Gil and I get Tucker, and I replace Juan Soto with Kyle Tucker,
It's a pretty good player.
I do that in a second.
He's a 30-30 guy.
I could tell you Kyle Tucker, there's a good chance, has better numbers than Juan Soto does next year other than walks, especially in that ballpark.
Yeah. Yeah, left-handed. I mean, they're both left-handed. But, yeah, I mean, Tucker's a 30-30 guy. Would you not take that? Juan Soto doesn't steal bases.
That would be, I mean, can you imagine Kyle Tucker showing up, replacing Juan Soto in New York and hitting 40 bombs? Let's say 40 bombs, 20-plus stolen bases, and ends up having better numbers than actually Juan Soto?
Yeah, totally. And I'm looking at it right now. I guess the discussions with the Cubs involve they want to involve Seiya Suzuki and Isaac Paredes in that deal if they do something. So maybe it's one of those teams that the Astros are talking to. So we'll keep an eye out. The World 5 draft starts in 11 minutes.
Everybody has walked past us.
And we saw David Forst.
Mike Rizzo of the Nats, who just got the first pick in the draft.
Stephen Vogt was walking in to go to the World 5.
Yeah, everybody's going in. So every single executive has literally walked right past us to go to the Rule 5 draft. We're drafting 5th in that Rule 5.
We'll see if I got one of the picks right to David Forst.
So you floored me at Tucker. What else is there?
Apparently, there's trade rumors involving with the Astros and the Cubs. They want, I think, in a deal involving Kyle Tucker, they want Isaac Paredes and Seiya Suzuki back, which makes sense. I mean, you need someone to replace Suzuki, and why not Kyle Tucker if you're the Cubs?
Here you have a guy in his prime who has the ability to be one of the better players in the game, and the Astros are looking to get rid of him and may not have Bregman back.
Tucker last year, and he only played he played in only 78 games because he was injured. Still hit 23 home runs, drove in 49, hit 289.
What did he do the year before?
In 157 games, he hit 284, hit 29 homers, drove in 112 runs. So, sorry, he was not a 30-30 guy.
And where was he in the MVP balloting?
He finished 5th in the MVP balloting that year. 2022, he finished 15th. He's won a Gold Glove. He's won a Silver Slugger. He's been a 3-time All-Star. So, since 2021, Kyle Tucker has averaged a 21.2 WAR in those seasons, 112 home runs, 360 RBI, and a 280 batting average, and a 145 OPS plus. Remember, 100 is league average.
And this is also a major problem when you don't have a salary cap. As Ray Jensen, the Karate Kid, said, every other sport has it for a reason. You wouldn't have teams trading most likely their best players, especially players in their prime, if you had a salary cap. Right? You get them done. You keep the players however long. We just have this system, this archaic system that everybody wants to get the top dollar. I mean, the bottom line is with a salary cap, the rest of the league makes more money in this system. The Houston Astros getting rid of a player or looking to get rid of a player who's like Kyle Tucker is insane. Think about that. You've raised him. He's your guy, and you're looking to ship. And we can talk about it plenty of times with our players. It's crazy. It's crazy that you're going to get rid of your guy, and it's purely financial. It's one thing if you didn't like the player, you want to get rid of the blah, 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 blah. That's not good for your game. When teams just have to get rid of players they really like because it's purely about finance.
Was not that. From Julian McWilliams, who was on this earlier. Source, the Red Sox are on the verge of trading for Garrett Crochet. The deal includes top prospect Kyle Teal. No, none of the other big-name prospects. Kyle Teal is a catcher coming out of, I think, Virginia, drafted in the first round. So he'd be a guy going back to the White Sox for Crochet. So we'll keep an eye on that. So it could be the Red Sox and White Sox making a deal for Garrett Crochet.
I thought Crochet was so valuable. He was going to get you so much on the market. He's going to get you one top prospect?
I guess so. What, for him to go 4 innings?
Wow.
I mean, is that what he did a lot last year? I know they were trying to limit his innings, but even when he did, I mean, Tommy John guy. So we'll see. I mean, if that's the deal, that's the deal. I want to see what they get back. The White Sox are rebuilding, and I mean, they already got burned for the moves they made last year when they traded Eric Fetty at the deadline. They got nothing back for him, essentially.
So, I mean, looking at that, that's the Red Sox helping Andrew Bailey and going all in on pitching.
Yeah. Well, yeah, 100%. But then, because what do you think? Because if they bring back Pivetta, you have him, you have Tanner Houck, you would have Crochet if you trade for
Cutter
him.
Crawford.
They don't want to sign Corbin Burns. So their staff they don't throw fastballs. We saw that last year. So, I mean, they could have a good pitching staff, but where does that get them? And where did they finish last year? 4th in the division? No, they finished ahead of the Rays. Did the Red Sox finish ahead of the Rays in the division last year? I think they finished with a winning record, right? I think the Rays were 4th.
I think weren't the Red Sox just under 500?
They might have been.
They're flirting.
Hold on.
It is official.
Oh, it's official.
Red Sox are getting him
from Jeff Passan. Breaking: the Boston Red Sox are finalizing a trade to acquire left-hander Garrett Crochet from the White Sox. The deal is in the medical phase, not official, but trending toward it. So Julian was right. We'll see what the return is.
And there was Kiley McDaniel saying it's going down. It's going down.
Newsbreaker. Kiley McDaniel.
I like it. As we're wrapping up here and we're finishing at the winter meetings, there we go. The Boston Red Sox, at least they got a name. At least they're kind of back on the board. They put a pelt up on the wall, as they like to say.
I mean, good for them. I mean, that's what you're going to pivot to. You miss out on Soto. You don't want to sign Burns. No, Crochet's young. I get it. We watched him pitch in the postseason series in 2020 against the A's back then, and then they
we watched him pitch this year against the A's, and you're like, man, I mean, it's
he's a good electric arm.
It's dominance. It's absolute. It's not for a long time, but it's dominance.
Left-hander who throws 100. He should have a long career unless he has another, praying he doesn't have another arm injury. But that's kind of the way that the sport's trending. So the Red Sox get their guy. Well, I mean, think he would be their guy, but who knows? Maybe they do that. Maybe they bring back Pivetta. That's not official yet either. But they have to get somebody else, right? They go in the rotation.
Well, and what do they do from an offensive standpoint? Certain teams got better. They got better not only because of the player, but like the message that they're trying to send. Like the A's are one of those teams. The Mets are one of those teams. Right now the Red Sox and the Yankees are trying to save face by not being able to get Soto. Where are the Toronto Blue Jays and all the money that they have? Like, where are some of these teams? I think for Eovaldi for the Rangers and Berger for the Rangers, and it being good for Texas down here, having the winter meetings in their own backyard. This has not been a good winter meetings for the Houston Astros. This has not been a good thing of our own division. It has not been good for the Seattle Mariners. I mean, Anaheim has been active.
Yeah.
Your California Angels.
I'm just looking at the Red Sox projected lineup. Duran, Devers, Casas, who they talk about trading. Trevor Story, if he stays healthy. Yoshida, Wilyer Abreu, who was a nice rookie last year. Connor Wong, a catcher, had a good year. David Hamilton, speedster, had a decent year. And then Johnny's picked to win the AL MVP in the next 4 years. Rafaela in center field. Their projected rotation, if they don't bring back Pivetta, would be Houck, your guy, Brian Bayo, Little Pedro, Cutter Crawford.
Can we stop with that?
Cutter Crawford.
I know Pedro Martinez. I saw Pedro Martinez, and he is no Pedro Martinez. Little Pedro. That's just disgusting.
That he'd be
Bayo.
So Houck, Bayo, Crochet, Crawford, and maybe Cooper Criswell will be the fifth if they don't bring back Pivetta or acquire anyone else. And their closer, because remember they signed Chapman. Their closer, Liam Hendricks.
That's right. Liam's back.
So
that could end up being a great pickup for them.
Yeah, I mean having
Liam with a new arm, ready to rock.
Chapman coming off a decent year with Pittsburgh last year as a setup guy, throwing.
I don't know if I love that, but how old is Chapman at this point?
He is.
Is he 40 yet? 39?
No, he's 30, almost 37. He's 30 according to Fangraphs. He's 36.8.
What?
Yeah. So
what do you think he really is?
So I've told otherwise. He's 36.8.
People in baseball will tell you, add a few years to that.
Miguel Tejada was the age he told me.
Yeah, exactly. Yario Garcia, how old was he, and what was his?
Yeah. Who did he end up becoming?
Santiago.
Santiago Casilla.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I mean, how old really is Aroldis Chapman?
He's aged okay, I guess, right? Kiley said he projected the Red Sox to get Crochet. He did. I read the article last week. So,
hey, we have newsmakers on. Well, that's it.
Well, hey, John Morosi, our friend, credit to @Julian McWilliams for being first on the Garrett Crochet trade story.
So the big trade today at the winter meetings, our buddy Julian McWilliams, who was sitting right here earlier today, talking about the Boston Red Sox.
And everyone said, hey, we put up the graphic. We're interested. Well, they are interested in Crochet.
Ray, can you come over here with the list of everybody we had as we end the meeting? So just to let everybody know that, there's a reason why we were here to get down to business. You can watch the Rule 5 draft? Really? I guess the coverage, tune in live here. I guess they're going to have a live broadcast starting at 1 o'clock. We draft 5th. You want to stay on till we draft?
Depends how fast it goes.
Forst said to be on 1.
He said around 110.
That will be our pick.
Yeah. Well, by the way, whatever happened to your friend from the Rangers?
She's actually meeting with MLB Network right now.
Oh, nice.
Abby Jones. Doug Jones's daughter. If you guys remember the closer, Doug Jones, his daughter covers the Rangers. She does Cowboys. But she's the big shooter down here covering the Rangers now. We were going to have her on to talk about but meeting with MLB Network. Can we do 145? I haven't responded.
145? No, we would not be on a 145.
We're going to go see the grassy knoll where President Kennedy was assassinated. Seen all the videos, and I've been to Dallas quite a bit. Been to Arlington. But I've never been there, and you know what? I'm like, you know what? You never know how many more times I'm going to be in Dallas. I want to go see it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm.
And they have the observatory on the 6th floor where Oswald did the shot.
Yeah,
allegedly.
Yeah, Lee Harvey Oswald.
Lee Harvey. They have a museum there, so we want to go check that out.
Yeah,
little history. Teach these kids some history.
So, all right, Ray, who do we have so far?
Kids don't care about history anymore.
We'll keep counting our head how many guests there were.
Right. Okay, so Monday we had 11 guests. We kicked off Monday with Martin Gallegos, MLB.com, covers the A's, followed by the skipper for the Minnesota Twins, Rocco Baldelli. USA Today national baseball writer Bob Nightingale followed Baldelli. And then our good friend from ESPN, Paul Hembekides, stopped by with the great backdrop of New York to talk about all things Soto and some other stuff. And Johnny Gomes concluded the morning portion of the Monday show. Great Johnny Gomes. Then we kicked off the afternoon. We had Bobby Evans, followed by Emart, Eric Martins, Torey Lovello, skipper for the D-backs, our good friend Dan O'Dowd from MLB Network, Jim Duquette followed, and then we had the great Steve Finelli to talk about season tickets that were on sale that day to start the sale for the Sacramento season of 2025 for the Athletics. And then Tuesday, fellas, we had 14 guests on Tuesday alone.
Really?
Yeah, 14 guests. A jam-packed morning show on Tuesday. Kicked it off with the pitching coach, Scott Emerson, Dr. Emo, Mark Kotze, the skipper, stopped by afterwards. Ryan Ripken from the Ryan Ripken Show and the son of Cal Ripken Jr. stopped by afterwards. Then we had the skipper from the San Francisco Giants, our good friend Bob Melvin, stopped by. John Morosi followed, and then including Katie Wu, Eno Saris, Mike Petriello, and Billy Owens to conclude the Tuesday morning show for those jam-packed show. And then we kicked off the afternoon of Ryan Divish from the Seattle Times, Mariners beat writer. Stephen Vogt, skipper for the Cleveland Guardians, was afterwards. Then Jesse Rogers, Nick Kroll, president of baseball operations with the Cincinnati Reds. And then we concluded Tuesday with the manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates, Derek Shelton. And today, fellas, we had 6 guests. Kicked it off with Julian McWilliams, who we just talked about breaking the news of the Garrett Crochet trade to the Boston Red Sox. Used to cover the A's for the Athletic, the Julian. Then Jed Lowrie, the Doubles Machine, stopped by afterwards to talk with us. Then we played our pre-recorded interview with David Forst, the general manager of the Athletics. Brian Kenny was afterwards, host of MLB Now and MLB Network. Then our good friend from Sirius XM MLB Network Radio, Mike Ferrin, stopped by to talk with us. And then we concluded everything with Kiley McDaniel, ESPN Baseball Insider. And so all in all, we had 31 guests throughout these 3 days, gentlemen.
It's a lot.
A lot of talking about you. You did an incredible job, as you do every year we do this.
It's. I appreciate that, but it's a lot. It's wall-to-wall coverage of our organization, and if there was ever a year that we needed to step up and be relevant here at the winter meetings, this was it, because things have changed with the Luis Severino signing, and when we're hearing that the A's were in on Max Fried, the A's were in on Sean Manaea, the A's were in on players. Like, we've never had that here at the winter meeting. So this was a year where we needed to step up, and we needed to represent the organization because, we're essentially still a part of the Bay Area market. And you look, the Giants have nothing. There's nothing. They had NBC Bay Area had a booth. I don't even know if they fired up any cameras or all. I don't know what kind of reports they had, but they've done, Willie Adames. That was a great deal, but we had Bob Melvin on. We did just as much Giants coverage as they did. The winter meeting, the Rule 5 draft, they're all in the room right now. We have it going right now on the phone. That's just down the way from us. It's going to be a while. It's not going to be 110 because they haven't had one pick yet.
Well, we don't need to play the breaking news thunder, but according to Ken Rosenthal on X, the White Sox are acquiring he worded this wrong. White Sox acquiring Garrett Crochet from the Red Sox. It's the other way around. For catcher Kyle Till, who's a top 100 prospect. Outfielder Braden Montgomery, if anyone remembers who watches college baseball, switch hitter or two-way player at Stanford, who then transferred to A&M. The A's liked him. I remember talking to David Forst about him. An infielder and a right-handed pitcher. So they got 4 guys back from the Red Sox for Garrett Crochet.
So a top prospect and 3 other guys.
I think Montgomery's right on the outside of a top 100 guy. So they might have gotten, a top 100 guy. And then Montgomery.
Where I'm not off the top of your head, but where do they rate in the Red Sox system?
It's a great question. I was going to pull it up and see where these guys rank. According to MLB.com, Teal is 4th. Montgomery is 5th. The other guy, the infielder,
4, 5,
11, and 14. So they got 4 top 15 prospects in the Red Sox system. Let me see if any of these guys are in the top 100. I know Kyle Teal is. He's a former first rounder. So is Montgomery, actually. Montgomery's in the first round this past year. Kyle Teal is the 25th best prospect according to MLB.com. Let's see other Red Sox, notable Red Sox. Montgomery's 54th, so you got 2 guys in the top 55. And the deal so far good haul for
that seems
Chris
like
Getz.
I think it's a win-win for both, right?
Yeah,
I'm giving up a haul, but I'm getting a primetime pitcher.
Yeah.
I'm getting a prize guy everybody wanted last year. I'm getting him this year. Remember they didn't overwork him because they wanted to trade him. It's a trade. It's a win. To one team, obviously, is going in a different direction. They got to rebuild. They got to get rid of this player, and they got 4 competent potential pieces. Kind of a win. It's a good deal for both.
Yeah, I'm after what happened with Chris Getz and the White Sox last year, and how much backlash they got for what they got back in a deal for Fetty and all that. They get back 4 prospects, 2 in the top 100 from the Red Sox. Could be good for them as they restart their rebuild after having the worst season in the history of baseball. So we'll see what they do. Maybe do they trade our good friend Luis Robert? I know teams like the Reds are interested in him. So the draft still hasn't started. David Forst told me 110.
They're about to start. This is not the most riveting. We're about to draft guys. We have no idea who they are.
Hey, we talked about it, though. Oh, okay. Now we got to wait.
All right, the White Sox.
Chicago White Sox select Shane Smith, right-handed pitcher from Milwaukee Brewers AAA.
All right, Shane Smith. So some guy walked from the White Sox, walked up to the podium. And he didn't walk up to the podium. He just walked up to a microphone. Kind of look the setup. It looks different than what it was in Nashville. Rocky's passed.
J.J. Cooper just announced it.
All right, Miami's going to the podium. Who's Miami taking? Remember, we're fifth.
Select Liam Hicks, Hicks, catcher, Detroit Tigers, AAA roster.
Liam Hicks, a catcher from the Tigers.
Liam Hicks. Remember, these guys got to be on the roster. California Angels on the board. Yeah, I still call him California.
Angels select Garrett McDaniels, left-handed pitcher from the Dodgers AAA roster.
Ooh.
Kind of sound like you right there, Ray.
All right, we're on the board. Who's doing it for us?
You're the one watching. Who walks up there?
I don't see it. I'm Here it is. Here it is.
The Athletics select Noah Murdoch, right-handed reliever from Kansas City AAA roster.
Noah Murdoch.
Great ground ball pitcher.
Who is Noah Murdoch from AAA Kansas City?
He has a good ground ball rate. His fastball is a true sinker that sits 95, 97, touches 98 at peak. Pitch had a 70% ground ball rate in 2024.
Okay, you haven't even told us. This is where you know it's so garbage. You've never even seen this guy. You haven't even told if he's righty or lefty.
It's a right-hand pitcher.
No, wait, how do you know?
So I did the research.
Yeah, you did research on somebody else's work. You didn't even tell us. You just started saying he's a ground ball pitcher. Is he righty? Is he lefty? What is he? How tall is he? What is he?
He's 6'8", 205. He's 26 years old.
6'8", right-hander.
Former 7th-round pick from the Royals in 2019 out of Virginia.
All right, so he's got some
6'8". Well, remember, we got Will Klein last year from the Royals, and he was, 6'7"? He was a big dude, too.
We got Boyle. He's,
6'7".
We've got
Waldichuk's big, tall.
Emerson's 6'5". We got a basketball team. All right. How old? So this guy's got some mileage. How old is he?
26. Last year in the minor leagues for the Royals, he was 1-0 with a 3.16 ERA in 46 games, 62 and 2/3 innings, 72 strikeouts in that with one save.
Remember, he's 26 years old and he's still in the minor leagues. He's been in the minors a long time.
Well, Spence was older too, and he was in the minor leagues.
Saying.
Yeah, I know.
26 years old, and you've been in the minor. Has he ever been in the major leagues?
No.
When does he turn 27?
Not till August 20th.
So he's going to be 27 this year. Never been in the big leagues. He's drafted by the Royals. They've never promoted him.
Correct.
There's something.
And
what is the issue? Stop selling me ground ball rate. He's 26 years old and he's never been in the big leagues. There's something there.
He's a reliever. He hasn't started a game since 2022. So he started one game in 23. So last year he's a purely reliever.
So he came in as a starter.
Yeah.
And he's been turned into a reliever. What's the problem? Doesn't throw strikes? Why is this guy 26 years old, never been to the big leagues, and you're telling me how great he is?
It's a good question.
Well, you got to see it in the numbers. There's got to be something.
He pitched 24 and a third in Double-A, 38 and a third in Triple-A.
Well, I can look at it right now, Cody. 2022, he has 6.91 ERA. 2023 had a 5.87 ERA.
But then last year he was good.
So you've seen a couple years where
that's in the lower minors, so he's bad.
He's getting hammered.
Well, how come he got better as he got it moved up?
I don't know. But he got hammered. So clearly, if you were a somewhat of a decent pick, this is a guy that got hammered. They've now switched. He only pitched in 16 games in 2024.
No, that was in Double-A. Pitched in 30 in Triple-A.
Where is it? Okay, so what did he have in 46 games? Go down. Let's see 2023. Yeah, 2 years ago he was terrible.
Yeah. They like him because of the ground ball rate.
Okay, so 2 years ago this guy had a 5.87 ERA. Almost 6.
Yeah, then in 22 was 6.91.
So last year.
Something happened in those 2 years with them.
Well, still his ERA is 3.76 as a reliever.
That was in AAA, yeah.
As a reliever, not a starter, as a reliever.
It's a bit high.
Yeah. So, okay, there's some, but you're saying he gets ground balls.
Yeah.
Does he strike out guys?
He had, he had 72 strikeouts in 62 and 2/3 innings last year. So he strikes guys out.
What's his velo?
Like 97, peaks at 98.
So the thing
Another
is,
we went from never having guys that throw hard in our bullpen to we have some guys that throw hard.
what's interesting about big guys is their mechanics. The biggest problem that you see with all tall guys is release point. And being able to have having a good release point and being able to replicate it over and over and over again. See Joe Boyle. When Joe Boyle's on, Joe Boyle's nasty. When Joe Boyle's not on, as Johnny Dasco and I saw last year in spring training, he threw a couple balls over the umpire's head. It was Nuke LaLoosh-like. So when you don't know where it's going, and that's the problem, when you got long legs and long arms, sometimes that can be a problem. But the Rule 5 is he's got to be on your roster, and if he's not on your roster, and if you want to send him back down, you have to offer him back to Kansas City, and we'll see what that's like. Now the A's, bullpen, it's a whole different deal when you've got to keep a starter versus a reliever. This goes back to what we've been talking about here at the winter meetings, guys that can do both, right? So this guy can relieve, and at some point we may now use him as a starter also. Mitch Spence was a starter who then all of a sudden we had him be a reliever at the start of the year, turn him back to a starter. This guy was a starter, now made a reliever, but we could have him do both.
Yeah, I went back
flexibility.
I went back and looked at Spence when he was in the minor leagues in 2023 with the Yankees. He had a 4.91 ERA in 29 starts. So we like taking guys that are projects, it seems like, because in 2022,
that's what a Rule 5 guy
is. 4.70 ERA in between two different teams, two different leagues in 2022. So the last couple of years, the team's taken project guys, and Mitch Spence was a very reliable starter / swingman for the A's. So we'll see what Murdoch's able to do coming out of the bullpen. I don't know. Maybe we move. Maybe we eventually make him a starter. Who knows? He was before, and we keep seeing that trend happening in baseball.
You have nothing to lose with the Rule 5 guy.
Yeah.
Nothing to lose. All right, final thoughts. We'll start with you, Ray. Final thoughts from the winter meetings, 2024, right before Christmas, Dallas, Texas. What do you got?
Well, selfishly, it was a great winter meetings for me as a Mets fan. But I think overall...
Did you get your ring yet?
No. I think it's in the shop still.
There you got to get the Mets are making Winter League champion rings with getting Juan Soto.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Overall, I was pleased with the activity compared to last year. Last year was pretty dull. So I think Dallas has been pretty good for the winter meetings this year.
David Forst, he called it.
Yep, see, he said I called it.
Can this guy start too? No, he's just a reliever. Can he play third? Okay. He can't play third either.
Can't blame us for checking.
Literally, David Forst, obviously he's going to the airport. RJ, we have a good enough relationship with David Forst that as he's walking by, we can scream at him. I just asked, does the Rule 5 pick play third? No. Can he start? No. He is a reliever, and that's it.
Yeah. But yeah,
this has been a great winter meeting.
It's been great. From the guest list alone, it's been fantastic.
All right, Commander, your final thoughts?
I thought we did a great job covering it as we have the last years, but I think this has been the best one we've had because aside from the guests and the amount of talking you've had to do, we've had stuff happen. And we came into the winter meetings with momentum because we signed somebody.
Yes.
We weren't trading people away. We brought in a guy like Luis Severino who's changing the culture and changing the image of the organization going forward to Sacramento and Las Vegas. So that's been a big thing. It's been very nice. It's been nice to see a lot of our colleagues that we haven't seen in a while around the industry here. I'm not talking about Ferrin, whatever. Like guys like Duke, Eduardo Perez, seeing managers like Voter and Shelty and Bob Melvin that we don't get to see all the time.
Look at that. We saw Jed Lowrie today, Johnny Gomes, Bobby Melvin, as you said, our friends in the industry. So, yeah,
you got to see your guy, Aaron Boone.
Booney.
From afar, but, anytime Boone comes by, we do like a whole segment about how he's not here. So, what's yours?
My takeaway, and I appreciate everything you guys have done. It's the guest list and the work that you guys have put in. My biggest takeaway, there's two things. The biggest takeaway, obviously, is things have changed for us, our organization. And I'm very happy for David Forst. I'm very happy for Mark Kotze. And I'm very happy for the front office and the coaching staff who have had to go through a brutal couple years. They had to wear it, right? They had to wear it. They had to take it on the chin. But the fact that they weathered the storm and now they're coming out of that storm and they're able to hold their heads high and be proud and know that things are changing. And that's obviously the big symbol of change. And that's with business, with any business. It doesn't matter what business you're in, right? You know, the brand name had kind of it taken some shots, and then now we're coming out of that and things are going to change. And in our industry, that something that signifies that you're healthy and things are going good is signing people. That is a show. That's a sign of things are going well with your organization. And so a symbol of change, as I like to say it. And then secondly, more important for me, I think the other part is for the organization. But for me is, you know, knowing that we started this thing in 2019 and we showed up to the winter meetings and we were just audio. And I thought we did a good job then. But everybody in the industry is like, what the hell are you guys doing? And we've gone from that to everybody knows who we are. Everybody knows what we're doing. And everybody knows that other teams need to be doing what we're doing. And I've noticed that the lack of coverage in our industry is more than ever before. There are no teams here. The Yes Network is always going to carry the torch for television. The rest of television, where are the other temes?
Yeah, I mean,
where are they?
The only other network I saw that's kind of affiliated with a team is SNY. That's really about it.
But I really haven't seen them.
Yeah, it's mainly been Yes, and then obviously MLB Network, and then with.
But MLB Network is bought and paid for by the league,
yeah.
Right? None of us are paid for by the league. Yes, MLB Network's going to be here because the league's paying for it. So the league's paying for their own coverage. Everybody else is paid for by the teams or something else, and every year it gets less. So my point is, we're growing while everybody else is getting smaller. It says a lot about our product. So pat ourselves on the back. You can't see me patting Ray on the back. Patting ourselves on the back here. We're growing. We're getting bigger. We have more to announce that you don't even know. While everybody is shrinking, we're growing. That is a bad side. That's a bad sign for a lot, but it's good for us. And that's something that a lot of our listeners who've been loyal to us, we thank you because we believe we're giving you a good product. And we're going to continue to give you good product. We're a growing product in this industry. So thank you for the help and the support because we're only getting better.
One last thing on the way out. Unfortunately, Martin texted me, then he tweeted it out. We lost Cooper Bowman, who was a part of the Lou Trevino, Frankie Montas trade to the Reds in the Rule 5 draft. So that's the only player that we – so Logan Davidson, as of right now, still in the organization. So there's still a chance.
Is it over?
I don't think it's over just yet, but is it over? Okay, they're in the minor league portion. Okay.
Oh, boy, you didn't stick around for that?
Logan Davidson still in our organization? As of right now. So I got a chance to champion that next year.
All right, that's going to do it for us from the winter meetings. We want to thank all the over 30 guests we've had in 3 days. We've given you about 17 hours of coverage. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We truly appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a great Christmas. Happy holidays to everybody. And the next time we'll see you is in 2025, getting ready for the Athletics in 2025. And it's going to be an exciting season. Take care, everybody. And that's it from Dallas, Texas.
With more sunshine returning, it's time to get outside and make the most of what Cinnabar Hills Golf Club has to offer. Like 27 championship caliber holes tucked in the beautiful hills of San Jose. And take advantage of their amazing Bay Area views for your next special event. It's all for you at Cinnabar Hills Golf Club, an award-winning venue designed to peacefully take you away from the bustle of Silicon Valley. Go to cinnabarhills.com. That's cinnabarhills.com.
This has been a presentation of The Athletics.